All of us here at Astonishing Legends would like to thank you for your support this year and wish you and your families and loved ones the safest of holidays as we look to a new year that we hope will be filled with positive changes and good health no matter where in the world you are. Happy holidays. Astonishing Legends would like to thank Miller High Life, Mint Mobile, Squarespace, Green Chef, Fight Camp, our contributors at patreon.com, and you, our listeners, for making tonight's show possible.
Hey, man, I'm so glad you could make it to the party.
Wow, the valet service I see you got here. You went all out.
Oh, it's not out of pocket. Astonishing Legends is paying for it.
What was that? That means I'm paying for half of that, and I don't remember approving that.
Listen, parking virtual cars is pretty affordable. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's cold out here, but such a beautiful night, isn't it? Thanks for coming, dude.
Well, of course. I wouldn't miss it for the world. It's just nice to get together. So we should head inside, right? Who's here?
Well, I just got back from the store, so I'm not sure. Let's go see.
Whoa, nice decorations, man. You got some new stuff this year, I see.
Yeah, I went full Griswold.
Really? 220, 221, whatever it takes.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Wait, that's Mr. Mom, right?
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to the Astonishing Legends 2020 holiday party with our special guests, Micah Hanks, Jim Harold, Richard Hatem, Rob Kristoffersen, and our very own Tess Pfeifle. We hope you'll join us tonight at the party by the fire for a little casual banter, a lot of eggnog, some talk of legends and fond memories, and maybe a little bit of music.
Whoa, valet service and a bar.
Like I said, this virtual stuff is practically free, man.
Well, then I'm going to grab an eggnog and maybe some egg rolls and a pig in a blanket.
Oh, I see Jim and Mike over there. I'm going to head over. Will you grab me one too?
Yeah, you got it.
Hey guys, how's it going? Jim, what's up? It's so great to see you. I can't believe I'm sitting here with the paranormal podcasting pioneer.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to be at the party here. Everything's so festive. The decorations. I see you have the stockings hung by the chimney with care, and you have some snow there, Scott, I see as well. So just adding to the festivities. I've got my sparkling sweater on. I don't know if you can see it in the light, but looking forward to it, and a little Bailey's in my coffee. So happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here with y'all.
Well, man, we're just so glad you could make it. Oh, wait, here comes Micah Hanks. Micah's been on the show a few times and even story produced a few episodes for us. Hey, Micah, come on, have a seat.
Well, it is always my pleasure to be here, and I hope you guys are all, getting into the spirit of the season.
All right, here you go, man. Here's a little eggnog.
Ah, nice. And an Astonishing Legends tumbler, no less. It'll be cold for a long time. Thanks, man. As you can see, Jim and Mike are already here. And look behind you, it's Tess. Tess Pfeifle, our right-hand woman and the glue that holds Astonishing Legends together. Hey, Tess.
Hi. I thought I was going to win the Christmas sweater contest with my Bigfoot and mistletoe. But with Jim's sparkle, I think I'm in a little bit of trouble.
I just want to point out that mine, actually, I left the sticker on here. It has a beverage pocket.
Oh, now see, that's a bonus.
Like right there.
Look at this. It's functional. That's what we call a tactical sweater.
Fully tactical.
But not needed because the beverage won't last before it gets its way to the
I know.
pocket.
It's actually going to be done in about 5 minutes. but thank you for bringing this over, good sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course, man. My pleasure. Oh, I saw Rob Kristoffersen over at the bar. He should be here in a second. Hey, Rob, come on over here.
Folks, it's Rob Kristoffersen, our old friend and UFO expert. Thanks for coming, man. We weren't sure you were going to make it, actually.
Thank you for having me. It feels weird. I feel like I've stumbled in from the cold into a paranormal podcast, and let me tell you, it feels weird to be in one again.
Yes, you've been out for a while, so thanks for making an exception to come back.
Absolutely. For you, anything.
Well, guys, it is just so great to have you here. Micah, you and Jim, you guys used to work together, right?
Oh, we still do. We love to work together when we have time. Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly do appear on each other's shows. We used to do a show called The Paranormal Report, and that was great fun. It was always great to catch up with Micah every week. He's so much fun and knows so much about so many different topics, and we just enjoyed delving into things. And when we get to catch up these days, we enjoy it just as much. And we just did a show together last week, and it just felt like old home week. We just caught back in together.
Yeah, it was almost like those days when I used to actually crash out there on Jim's front porch, and he would ask me day after day, how many days are you going to stay out there, young man? Yeah, no, truly, it's almost like coming home and actually bringing the party right here into your living room, Mr. Scott.
Well, it's very nice to have you. Oh, I believe I see Rich Hatem over there.
I just walked in.
Rich, come on over, have a drink, grab some eggnog.
Hey, you guys. Oh, my God, it is freezing outside. Oh, it's so nice in here. Oh, my God, look, everybody's here. This is quite a party. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, how's it going, man?
Hey, Rich, good to see you. What game show are you hosting right now?
That's a reference to his jacket.
Are you asking about my coat, my hat, or the animal?
The whole ensemble is amazing, man. I feel the need to answer questions that anything that you throw at me right now. I mean, I'm in that festive spirit.
Nobody pulls off novelty clothing like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a 3-piece suit that's got pumpkins or Christmas ornaments on it, it's in my closet.
I love it. You got some snow there on your shoulder, Richard. It must really be coming down out there.
Get that off. Can somebody get me Actually, you know what? I'm going to go to the bar and get a drink. Anyone need anything?
You know what? I'm good. I just topped off. Thank you.
Jim, you need something?
I'm good. I've got my coffee here. I'm good shape. Thank you.
Micah, how about you? You look dry. What's going on?
Man, I'm okay. I'm anything but dry. I was curious about that scarf you were wearing when you came in. Oh, wait, was that a cat?
It was. I'm hoping it was Scott's cat because it jumped on me outside.
Oh,
and Scott, by the way, do you own a cat? Because if not, there may be a cryptid situation at hand.
No, I do not own a cat at this time.
Okay. I perhaps should have gotten a blurry picture. We could have used it as quote unquote evidence. Forrest, seriously, man, you want a beer? What do you need?
I'm not sure that's allowed in the recording space that we are currently renting.
Oh, breaking the fourth wall right out of the cage.
Being it's more of an office thing.
Really, Forrest?
We're in an office that there's no more office parties.
I'm going to go to Scott's bar in his house where this party is that we're attending.
I see.
And I'm going to grab a drink. Tess, would you like something?
I just had a double rum chata, so I think I should slow down before we really get started.
Oh, she's got the right idea.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm just going to run over to the bar, say hi to Em and Ro, and then I'll come right on back, okay?
Okay, that sounds great, Rich. Thank you. It's so nice to hang out with you guys, actually not doing work right now, just kind of hanging out. But by the same token, I feel like maybe there might be some stories we can share with each other, things that we haven't done in the past. And it is Christmas. I know that one thing that Rich had mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago, which was pretty interesting, was about how hand in hand Christmas and spooky things seem to go together, how all the seasons like Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas all run together and seem to have some common themes that you don't really think about. I mean, you think about it when you think about Charles Dickens, right? I mean, obviously, that's some really spooky stuff, A Christmas Carol, which I grew up watching in Raleigh, North Carolina. There is a famous production of it there that's been running for 30, 40 years that I have been to numerous times when I was in high school, and I took my whole family to just last year again, and it's the same lead.
Wow.
The actor is the same lead, although his son does some of the shows as well.
He grew into it.
Yeah, he's been doing it a long
Aged
time.
into
It's
it.
really amazing performance, and his son does it too, but also his daughter is Evan Rachel Wood, who is you might know from Westworld, among other things.
Hey, I just got back. I got back with my drink. What do you tell you? Evan Rachel Wood's going to come to the party? What is this?
Yeah,
about?
Evan Rachel Wood. She's actually right over there.
Are you serious? She's so
Incognito.
much shorter in real life.
Yeah.
So what was that? Were you talking about a Christmas Carol?
Yeah, I was just talking about A Christmas Carol. I was thinking about what you said last week about how things seem to blur together with Christmas and spooky stuff.
And I'm curious about you guys because for me, it was like, I think I was 5, and it was the same Halloween that I saw Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the animated one, the Disney one, and it like completely exploded my brain and connected with some inner like supernatural place. And then I went and saw my first movie in a theater ever in 1971. Again, 5 years old. I had no idea what it was. It was called Scrooge. And my cousins, because it was my family and my cousins and my aunts and uncles, like the whole group of us went to see this on a Saturday afternoon, starring Albert Finney. Do you guys know the one I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. To this day, my favorite movie because it's my first and it's so great. And it was just so emotional because it was like, oh, it's a Christmas movie, but it's scary. And I couldn't figure that out. And then I saw it and it was galvanizing because it was so scary and yet it was so joyful. It was like the scariness of Halloween with the redemption of Christmas. And it was like, oh, so it got scary on Christmas Eve, but then everything was okay on Christmas morning. And somehow that just like formed my entire idea of the world and the holiday and everything. So that movie, the music from that movie, that like connects me to childhood. That's like my favorite childhood memory of Christmas. Are you guys like that? Do you have one?
Well, I do, but I wanted to just mention something you picked up on there. And to me, you talk about the yin and the yang, and I think the supernatural and the paranormal, it's like that. It's like life. You know, people tend to think the paranormal is just the spooky and the scary and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that it's a continuum, right? I think there's some beautiful stories like communication from loved ones, angel stories, you know, all these great things, which are very sweet and poignant. And then you've got, you know, full-blown demons and the jinn and all kinds of crazy stuff. So to me, it's kind of like the paranormal. It wraps that whole continuum because one of my pet peeves is people just think paranormal stuff is scary. And that is a big part of it. But there's a sweet side to it too.
Right. It's like there's the near-death experience, which tend to be like mostly positive. But it was also weird. Like as a kid, I always thought it was really amazing and great that this was a day when even grown-ups seemed to acknowledge that there was the supernatural. Like there was a ghost who was going to come to your house and give you presents. And your parents were on board with it. So then I guess it's real. I guess this stuff, and for me, it is real. That's never gone away.
My little sister's birthday is on Christmas, so it's been a nightmare for me for 24 years this year. Hi, Gracie.
You know, I feel like for me, I do remember it was the first time that I had wonder of things that I knew didn't make sense, but that seemed real when it came to Santa Claus. And I remember staying up late at night, and my mom really went out of her way to make sure that was happening. We did the cookies and the milk and all that stuff. And at that particular time in my childhood, we were fairly broke. Is I think the word they mostly used in the 70s and 80s. But but I never felt like
Colorado days? Was this?
Yeah, Colorado days. Yeah, when I lived in Denver, in a house behind an Arby's. Yeah. So.
Oh my God, are you serious? Like you would look out your window and you could see the Arby's hat lit up?
Pretty much. Yeah. That's a hat, right? That took me a long time to figure that out, by the way. I'm still not sure about that.
Some of us thought it was some sort of weird flying saucer, right? You know, it's
something weird about it. Something weird about it. Yeah.
You should all picture a young Scott Philbrook peering out his window on a Christmas Eve at the Arby's sign, the cars lined up with all the divorced dads.
Yeah, Lakewood, Colorado.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us all down.
You cheered things up, Richard.
Hey, that was my Christmas almost 18 years ago. Okay, so my mom would throw a big Christmas Eve party for all my relatives. So that was, I don't know, do you guys divide yourselves up? I'm a Christmas Eve guy more than a Christmas morning guy. What are you folks? More Christmas Eve or Christmas morning?
I think that changes with age. When you're a kid, it's definitely Christmas morning. The older you get, the more you want to celebrate the night before, right? Or maybe the night after. I don't know. Maybe just that afternoon. Maybe it's the nap you look forward to.
I do love the nap.
Yeah. I could never understand why my parents were always tired. They're always like, oh my God, we're so tired. I'm like, why are you tired? I'm bouncing off the wall.
They're putting all these things together with all these little pieces. For me, I was totally Christmas morning as a kid. Now I'm kind of 50-50. I still love Christmas morning. I'm still a kid, but my wife and her family had a strong Christmas Eve tradition. They're Catholic, and they kind of brought me along to it. So now Christmas Eve, now as an adult, has a lot more meaning than it ever did growing up as a kid.
Do you guys do midnight mass?
No, we don't do that. Although my wife always watches that on TV. I guess that's a cop out. But she does. She's Italian, so she does this whole thing with fish, but she's changed it. She doesn't, because they have certain kinds of fish that she doesn't care for. So we've kind of bastardized it and changed it to like seafood that we like.
Maybe you know this, but I didn't know this. Isn't it called, you probably know way more than I do, like the Night of the Seven Fishes or something?
Yes, that's what it's called. Yeah.
And so what is the tradition? What do you do?
Well, I'm not real clear on that because, as I said, it's been Americanized. I think the real Italians have like bacala and all these kind of maybe, I mean, to me, not that great fish. And we have like shrimp and lobster when we can afford it, and you know, fun stuff.
No lobster roll.
Yeah, I like our version and crab legs and stuff like that. But
I love that. I had no idea. And then one of my best friends, I finally said to her, nothing personal and it's cool, it's all, but on my Christmas Eve party, you never come. And she's like, I know, I'm so sorry. We do the Night of the Seven Fishes. And I'm like, okay, you got to be making this up.
No, I've never heard of this.
Just tell me you don't want to come to my house. I'm fine.
I wish I had my wife here. I could say, hey, explain this to us. But I'm not Italian, so my knowledge is only secondhand, as usual.
Scott, you've never heard of this, you said?
I have not heard of it until this moment. In the past
I'm not sure
minutes.
I've heard of this either.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Paul Harvey.
Oh my God, a Paul Harvey reference. Well,
next up, news.
And that boy was Johnny Appleseed.
That's great.
Now you know the rest of the story.
Oh, man.
We're all radio guys. Come on, we're all old radio guys.
I used to ride around listening to him in my grandfather's car. My grandfather was a banker, and he had one of those Lincoln Town cars, the 2-door one, but the door was longer than like a 4-door car. Like the door, I couldn't even open the door as a kid. I needed like help.
And it would, when it turned a corner, it would be on 2 different streets. It was
it was the Mark III or whatever, because he was a commercial loan person. So so when we would go around in town, God rest his soul, the family would go out to eat. This was in Raleigh, back in the 80s, and we would all be eating, and then we would go to pay, and somebody at some other table had seen my grandfather and picked up the tab for the whole family. And I was like, oh. I was like, that guy is cool.
Membership has its privileges.
Did your grandfather's car smell like cigarettes?
No, he didn't smoke. It did not smell like cigarettes. But
oh my God.
Smelled like money. No.
A ton of vinyl, whatever Lincoln was putting in those giant town cars. I mean, that car was huge. I mean, I know I was
They rode
smaller,
like a cloud. A family friend had one of those, and you couldn't feel a bump.
No, you couldn't. It was real easy to get car sick. And when you're a little kid, the dashboard's above your eyebrows, So
when I learned how to drive, it was on my family's Country Squire station wagon with the power steering.
Wood paneling, right? Simulated wood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was one of those cars where you would start to turn it, and then a little while later, it would turn.
Yeah.
I
Typically,
felt like
that's
Mark
called
Twain
understeer.
Piloting my way down the Mississippi.
The steering was relaxed. It was laid back.
And coming back to what we were talking about a minute ago, it's interesting to me, too, how many different traditions happen. And even within families, traditions are different. It's kind of like the, all the different rules that pop up for Monopoly. Because I always think about, with me and my wife, my family was like, in the morning, you got up and you might open one present the night before. Mm-hmm. In the morning, you got up and just went hog wild. Oh, by the way, there's the thing about, does everyone open all at once, or are things handed out and everyone pays attention to the person opening? And then
you got to go around in a circle.
But then the other thing her family does that mine didn't do, was completely foreign to me until we got married, is there would be the stuff that Santa brought that wasn't even wrapped.
We did that.
Yes, it's just sitting out.
But it wasn't wrapped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not wrapped. It's so that when the kids get up, go in there, it's like, oh, he left this here. Because he's not taking time to wrap. He's got enough crap on his plate. So it's like.
Santa, for us, had special paper. In other words, there was the other paper, and then there was the Santa paper. In a minute, I'll tell you about the Pickle Game.
Well, now wait
please.
Second.
Do we have to wait?
A lawyer present.
This is 2020, friends. It's perfectly innocent. Actually, this was something I think of as a German lineage, and we kind of borrowed it from a family friend.
Tess is nodding.
It is a ornament in the shape of a pickle. And on Christmas Eve, what we will do, there'll be like little gifts like socks and...
Oh, I have heard about this.
Yeah, a deck of toy cards, or very minimal gifts. But we have 2 girls now. Now they're 17 and 21, but they still play the pickle game, and it's kind of evolved into a tackle sport almost. But but what you do is that you hide the pickle ornament on the tree, and you have them in another room. You say, whoever finds the pickle gets the pickle prize. Now, of course, we have multiple pickle prizes, so everybody wins. But I mean, now, you know, it was so cute when they were little. They're like, where's the pickle? Where's the pickle? And now they're like, get out of my way.
The tree's down. Yeah.
I know. It's like that could end up.
What do you get? A pair of socks? But it's more kind of pride of place, you know?
Wait, Tess, what do you know about the pickle game?
Well, we played it in college, which sounds horrible, but we just had the little trees because I went to the Catholic University of America.
That's right.
A drinking school with a Catholic problem.
So did you drink while playing the pickle game? That's the question.
Yes. But what I was going to say is my dad is also the father of 2 young girls that are 2.5 years apart. And his favorite Christmas tradition is asking for all of the wrapping paper while he drinks his coffee, doesn't say anything, and he just throws it in the fire. And if you have too much wrapping paper in your area, you get a grunt. And it goes right in the fire. And then Christmas for me as a child was just pyromania because you'd almost want to unwrap everything, not look at the present, and want to throw it in the fire.
Yeah, I can see
What
that.
if you made a mistake, though, and you accidentally throw, like, the instructions or something in a fire?
We don't talk about that anymore.
Oh, okay.
There were some laughs. There was almost a Game Boy game that flew in.
Major loss.
Funny. You know, you say that, and now I'm remembering that that there was a Christmas Eve thing with my grandfather with wrapping paper, but it was balling it up and then throwing it into a bag. And the kids would hold the bag, and then he would try to throw it across the room.
We sort of do that.
Do you do something like that?
Well, I mean, it's not organized, but there's always the big bag, and we're throwing it because my mother-in-law wants it cleaned up right now. Like it's not, we're not doing the messy living room. Yeah.
Well, then my father was always about save the paper. That's good paper. Don't save the paper. We would then, my brother and I would make a point of shredding every package we opened so that the paper was completely unusable. And we like to think that it drove him crazy.
All right. So here's the thing that I'll say this, and I want to hear, Rob, if you have anything to add to this conversation, or Micah, but like, Mike, I want to know, have you heard of the pickle game?
No, I hadn't heard of that pickle game at least.
All right.
So I'm getting Mike another drink.
Yeah. Please, would you, Rich? Old buddy, old pal. I knew you'd help me out there. Whatever you're having, brother.
Ooh, I'm having a thing here called a last word. Do you guys know the last word cocktail? Oh, Tess does. Tess, do you like it?
Isn't it Hemingway?
Oh, no, I think you're thinking of the Hemingway daiquiri, which has
yes,
Luxardo and grapefruit juice. The last word cocktail, super easy to make for your holiday parties. We'll give you a cocktail recipe if you listeners would like to use it. It's 1 part gin. Use a London dry gin like Gordon's or Beefeater's. 1 part green chartreuse, not yellow. 1 part Luxardo maraschino liqueur. You can get it literally at any Bevmo. And 1 part lime juice. And it's a delicious, sweet, sour holiday drink. Your guests will thank you.
Look at that beautiful green color too, Rich. You know, I was thinking, why, if we just took a couple of lime wedges and just popped them on the sides and a couple of little black olives, put those on top, you could call it the Baby Yoda.
Yeah, totally. Folks, you have the picture now.
And Tess, you like gin, right? I don't like gin.
I love gin.
Yeah.
I make everyone on my birthday take gin shots. Obviously not this year, but in pre-pandemic times, if you want to celebrate with me on my birthday, you're taking a shot of gin.
What's your gin? What's your brand?
Well, I like slow gin the best, so Haymakers.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make a gagging, vomiting noise. Okay, go ahead. Slow gin. This is such a college thing. Okay, go ahead, Tess.
But I also like Hendricks's Midsummer, which because of the pandemic is in abundance in DC. So
really?
I just bought a bottle 2 days ago.
It's delicious. Well, I love the bottle too. You know, it's got that wonderful kind of old timey, looking kind of, I don't know if it's really old timey, but it's just a unique kind of most gin bottles are clear glass, and it's, Hendrix isn't, but it's also got a unique flavor too. Now, again, I'm quite fond of a martini. I'd raise one to the late, great Sean Connery, and I'll point out the only knight who actually ever went in search of the Holy Grail and found it. But, yes, indeed, he no doubt liked his gin, shaken, not stirred.
Very good. Very good, Michael. Do you ever have a Vesper?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Let's see. Who was it? is it a measure of Gordon's, a half a measure of vodka, and then no, it's another measure of vodka and a half a measure of Quina Lillet, which you can't find anymore, so you use Lillet Blanc.
Dude, you're my hero.
My man.
You're my friggin' hero. You know that you just off the top of your head, you know the Vesper recipe. This is not only a James Bond fan, this is a classy guy.
Well, actually, what it is Scott asked me to bartend tonight, and really, I should get back to work now because that's all I'm here for is just to bartend. So if you guys want to drink this, let me know, okay?
Yes, and to quote Coming to America, I almost forgot I was here in a domestic capacity.
Yeah. By the way, I think it's 2 measures of Gordon, 1 measure of vodka, and then that half a measure of Quina Lillet. Go ahead, take it away, Scott.
Yeah, for those of you taking notes at home, and which I made a joke about that a few weeks ago, and apparently a lot of people do take notes when they listen to Astonishing Legends. So,
well, we'll put all the drink recipes and any forthcoming food recipes in the show notes.
Yes, I think we should do that. Yeah, I was going to say just quickly, my mother-in-law, we have been celebrating Christmas with her for a while now. Christmas mornings, I go see my family on other days. That's the other thing. You got to juggle who you're hanging out with and all that stuff. And if there's airplanes in the middle, it's difficult, especially with the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But you know, everybody's getting checks, a little Christmas check, you know, it's a little money coming in. And that is the thing that invariably gets caught up with the wrapping paper that sometimes goes into either the fire or the trash bag or disappears forever, right? So there's always like, wait, after everything is in the trash bag, it's like, where did that check go that was for, you know, our son? Where's that check? Where's this? And a few years ago, we got one. And then I moved last year, which most of our listeners know, to the East Coast. And when I got here, I'm like organizing all my file, going through some stuff, and I had some checks to deposit, and I've deposited a check, and it was one that she had given to us for Christmas like 2 years prior.
Seinfeld episode.
Yes, exactly. And it deposited again. The bank did not catch it, and she had to call me and be like, "What are you doing over there?"
At least she wasn't like Jerry's grandma who had to go to like this horrible neighborhood in the
no. Forgot about that episode. It was like that. And it's funny because she's always like, "Where did that go?" And she's wanting us to stay in control of it, you know. And it's like I'm always like, "Don't worry, I put it in my wallet. It's fine." So, but this time, I was the villain. Thought I might find you out here. What are you doing?
You know, it's just such a gorgeous evening. You know, I just thought I'd take it in.
You know what? The snow is beautiful tonight. I'm having a good time. How about you?
You know, this has really worked out great. And it's always great to hang out with good friends any night.
Oh, nice. Did you bring a Miller High Life out here? Can I have one?
Well, of course I did. And of course you can. I always got some to share with a friend.
Nice. Oh, that's great, man. Cheers.
Cheers. Hey, did you see that 2020 Christmas ornament I snuck onto your tree tonight? It's a little garbage dumpster on fire with 2020 written across the side.
Yeah, I did see that, and I literally laughed out loud. I wonder who put that there. It figures it was you. I love that the little flames light up on it. It took me right back to my days in New York when those were a weekly thing.
Jeez. Well, look, at least in New York, you're like, hey, that's par for the course. But seriously, I think a lot of people are feeling like 2020 has been a dumpster fire of a different kind. Yet, there's that nagging idea that we talk about every time we talk about Miller High Life, that you need to take a moment and slow it all down and look around you and find those little treasures in life that should be appreciated and celebrated.
Well, certainly this is the time of year we look forward to spending some quality time with our friends and family, office parties and special holiday performances with the kids. And this holiday is going to be a tricky one for a lot of folks, and we're going to miss out on some of those things. But you know what? You're right. There's plenty of good cheer in our lives if we just put away the cynicism for a minute and take the time to notice what we have versus what we don't.
Oh, boy, that's so true. That's it exactly. Take this Miller High Life, for example. It's unpretentious, created specifically for the simple things in life we're celebrating.
From now on, man, when I think of sharing good tiding and cheer, I think of Miller High Life and you, good sir.
Aw, thanks, man. Scott and I invite you to celebrate the good life this season with us at a Miller High Life, the champagne of beers. It's a quality beer within everyone's reach.
And please, celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
This is Lenu from Nairobi, Africa, and you're listening to Astonishing Legends with Forrest Burgess and Scott Philbrook. Now let's get back to the show.
When you guys were kids, I don't know why I flashed on this. Maybe it's because you were talking about things getting lost, but was like the greatest thing to find in your stocking Did you guys ever get McDonald's gift certificates?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All
Totally.
the time. The gift that keeps on giving, from just receiving it to the eating experience to the experience you have later in the bathroom. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
And great commercials, too.
Yeah,
But it's
absolutely.
like, when you're a kid, back in the 70s and 80s, when I was a kid, that was like, it was better than money somehow.
Yeah.
It was just like,
The redemption. It was like, you redeem it and magically they give you McDonald's.
Yeah. And it's like, well, you know what it was? It was also like, well, this means I'm allowed to have McDonald's. Like, I have control over my McDonald's consumption. Like,
Yeah.
You can't say no. It's like, I've got McDonald's money. I have to spend it at McDonald's, right?
You can't make me spend it on socks.
I feel ripped off. I used to just get office supplies.
Oh my goodness. Tess, that is so perfect for you.
Here's some nice highlighters.
My dad worked from home my entire life growing up. So I hung out with him in his office a lot. We listened to a lot of good music. He's from Detroit.
Oh yeah.
And
Motown.
I used to request things like scissors, number 2 pencils, a stapler remover.
Yes.
That was 2 Christmases apart, so that was a little stressful for me. But I did have a clipboard that I would check in on the family with.
Really? You would check in on the family? You would come in?
Just check in, just writing check marks.
Yeah, okay.
This is what prepared you for Astonishing Legends, right?
Oh, yeah. I love office supplies to this day, but there's a joke my dad filmed every single Christmas. I'm 26 now. He probably will also film this Christmas, so thanks, Dad.
Good for him.
Well, I asked for a Margaritaville maker, so we'll see if Santa comes through with that.
That sounds nice.
Living alone during a pandemic is fun, people.
Oh.
But one of the iconic quotes that gets quoted by my family is, about age 8 or 9, I got a pair of safety scissors after lusting after them. And I screamed to the camera, "Scissors, how did he know?" Meaning Santa.
And wait, so that's captured at the top of the show when we said we were recording this and you said, great, this is going to be around forever. That moment is around forever?
Scissors, how did you know? And also, you guys mentioned getting gifts from, your family and Santa. I also got gifts from Harry Potter.
What?
Whoa.
Explain that, please.
There was one year, there was a lot of specially wrapped presents, and they said, from your best friend, HP. And again, that was also caught on tape, and I look like I'm about to pass out.
Jim and I would have seen the HP and thought, Lovecraft, oh, wow.
Exactly.
God.
I was not allowed to
That's
read
exactly
about Cthulhu.
Cthulhu remembered me on Christmas.
Oh, wonderful. I'm the luckiest boy alive.
My daughter, pre-pandemic, she was over in London right before the pandemic broke, and she got to meet Daniel Radcliffe because she went to see a play and finally got to meet him in person. He said it was incredibly nice.
Oh,
After
that's
a
cool.
play
Oh,
came
my
out, it
God.
was a surrealist play. I can't remember. It's off the tip of my tongue.
Was it Ionesco's Rhinoceros?
No, but it was a surrealist play. I can't remember who it was. It was a surrealist, and it was him and Alan Cumming. And Radcliffe came out. Radcliffe came out and spoke to people afterwards, and spoke to my daughter and her friend. And that was a frightening time this year. She had to rush back in March due to the pandemic. But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, pandemic memories. It's funny we've already got these, but I mean that was one of mine. Was right after everything struck here, stateside, and Jim calling me and telling me, my daughter just got her home, everything's good, and I took this sigh of relief, because we've worked together for years.
Sure.
And I mean, it's been one of those years, so all the better. I think with the fire going blazing hot like it is, it almost could potentially, I mean, the CDC doesn't recommend this, but it could actually burn off, some of the danger. I feel safer here. Just don't ruin the illusion for me, guys.
I
Right?
actually I brought a campfire with me.
Look, see,
Oh, there it is.
by the way, where is
There
Forrest?
it
I think
is.
Forrest's got my guitar pick. Is he
Forrest,
still
what's going on? You got
Yeah,
that
I
pick?
don't, it would be nice to hear. Were you going to play something for us tonight, Micah?
to meet? Well, if Forrest will bring my guitar pick back, yeah, I might. But
Hold on, I have to get it from the Kingston Trio over in the corner. Like the,
Scott, that the Kingston Trio and that they showed up to your party.
Well, it takes
That
a
is-
worried man
Well,
to sing
you
a worried
know.
song. So
it does, yes.
it's a multi, time traveling dimensional kind of.
Tess is like, who? What is that? No.
Correct.
I thought you were listening to music with your dad. What was he listening listening to, Tess?
It was Kiss, wasn't it? Detroit?
What did I grow up listening to?
Yeah.
CCR.
Oh, very nice.
Okay, nice.
And Pinball Wizard, some Clash. My
very
dad's
good.
favorite song is Lost in the Supermarket. So
Nice.
and we dance to that like every holiday season
Nice.
after he's had some red wine.
That helps.
Oh.
That helps.
Speaking of that, I'm going to go grab a cryptid from the fridge.
Go for it.
Let's see if we can get.
This sharing of Christmas memories kind of makes me think, with our society today, there's so much division and we don't have the cultural touchstones that we used to have. Back even before our time, people used to tune in and watch Ed Sullivan, Everybody in the Country on Sundays at whatever it was, 7 o'clock or whatever it was on CBS.
Right.
And, later on Carson, and we grew up with these like people that everybody experienced, movies that everybody experienced, but now everything is so bifurcated and spread out. The sharing of Christmas traditions is one of the few things, as pretty much as or holiday traditions, is something that most of the society can relate to. One of the few cultural things that kind of keeps us glued together, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I really agree. In fact, do you remember? Oh, look at that. What do you got there, Tess?
Bat Squatch.
Oh, Bat
Bat
Squatch.
Squatch.
Rogue.
Yes, I've had that before.
I said I was going to go to get a cryptid from the fridge. This
Yeah.
is what I
Yeah,
meant.
I thought it was
You
a
weren't
bit.
lying.
You were serious.
All right, do it, Tess. Do it. Hey, Jim, when you were a kid, was it a big deal like it was for me when the Christmas specials like Rudolph?
Oh, yes. This was pre-VCR because I grew up in the 70s. I was a little kid in the 70s. No VCR. So either you saw it on that Saturday night at 8 o'clock on CBS or you didn't see it for another year. That was it.
I know. Yeah, or exactly. Grinch, Charlie Brown. It was like you sat down and you watched it, and those were like big broadcasts. That was like, brought to you by Prudential,
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
Or GE did the
like
first Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the 60s. They were the
really?
sponsor. Yeah, because the red nose, it was GE. Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Huh. Wow.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, but that's the joke now. It's like it used to be a big deal, and now we've got all of those on DVD,
Yeah.
and it's just like, okay, what do you want to watch tonight? Okay, Little Drummer Boy, here we go. Okay, so here's another Christmas memory. So I grew up in Monterey Park, which is in East LA. So just a few minutes outside of downtown LA, but east. And we would get our Christmas tree, and I don't know how this started, but we would get it. We would drive down into the train yards in downtown Los Angeles, these big open like train yards at night, and they would be pulling the trees out of the boxcars and shaking them out. And there was one section where they would auction them off, and other sections where they were already hammered into stands and stood up, and then you could choose from them. And
So it's like
it
a
was always
fish market, but with trees.
Yeah, exactly. In this big dark area in the glow of downtown LA.
That's cool.
And again, my cousins Jan and Rob, my Aunt Sally and Uncle Bob, and then my parents and my brother John. So the 8 of us would go out to usually do a Mexican restaurant for dinner, and then go to the train yards. And my mom and my Aunt Sally would pick out the trees, and it would take, they had to find the best trees. So it would take forever, which was great for us. So we could run around in the trees and around and everything. And looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I loved that, because when am I ever going to be in downtown LA in the dark at night? I got to be Carl Kolchak for a minute.
The great Dylan McGavin.
Yeah.
Jim, you don't want to start the Kolchak discussion with
Did
Rich.
you have like the hat and the whole get up and the tape recorder, the big tape recorder?
I now own, you don't understand the sickness you're witnessing.
I worked with a guy who dressed just like Kolchak.
I've got the suit.
Awesome.
I've got the tie, the knit tie. I literally have the camera and the tape recorder that he used. I've got those models for my costume that I wear now. And everyone looks at me and says, the hell are you?
I've got the DVD set right over there, so I'm a fan too.
Next Halloween, we'll have to have another party. But anyway, that was always a big deal. And then we go back to my house first. And if Christmas tree night coincided with Grinch or Charlie Brown or Rudolph, it was just like the stars had aligned. And then while the dads were pulling the trees off the roof of the car and trying to get them set up and figure out the lights, we would all run into the family room and watch the specials with our cousins, and it was the greatest night ever.
That sounds amazing.
Well, let me pose this question to everybody. I'm not sure if I can play this while we're here because this is, of course, all spontaneous. At this party, on my phone, I'll just crank the phone up. I'll crank the phone, and we'll all gather around.
That phone. That looks pretty nice. Is that the new iPhone 12?
Forrest is here. Forrest, oh my God, you're at the party now.
It is so good to see you, man.
It's the magic of Christmas.
Yeah, well, the guitar
Where'd
I had
Rob
to sketch
go?
from.
I don't understand what happened to Rob, but anyway.
Rob's hanging out underneath the mistletoe by your staircase.
I'm hanging out there by myself, just kind of staring. I've got hope in my eyes. There's a glistening there. Okay,
I think that's the pre-work drink, but
that is? All right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I had to get Micah's guitar from. Is it Jim's? Who's the guy? The musician? Not Jim Harrison. Jim. No, he used to sing about UFOs and abductions.
Oh, Jim Sullivan. Jim Sullivan.
Jim Sullivan. I always I confuse that. That's the only thing they found in his VW
He left his
Beetle out in
guitar.
the desert.
Yeah.
Was his guitar, which he never left anywhere.
Hard to believe he would get on a UFO without his guitar. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's real hard to believe.
Maybe he took lessons though. Maybe they had some really cool instruments on that UFO. That's the only thing.
I'll tell you what.
It's like time travel.
I'm on a UFO.
I'm telling you,
We'll have
man,
to
that
play
Jim
that.
Sullivan album is amazing. That's a good album. It's good music.
in the way that it is very mysterious, very ominous. Just an album detailing this guy who he likes to drive out into the desert, and he has some weird esoteric song about a UFO and all this
That's
stuff,
what he
and
did.
then he
And
ends
disappeared,
up going missing.
It's like he
5
wrote a
years
song
later.
where he's like, I'm gonna get in my Volkswagen Beetle and take my guitar and drive into the desert and get on
Pretty
a UFO.
much.
And then that's what happened.
The most interesting thing.
Wait, what?
Most
You don't know
interesting
this
thing
story,
about,
Rich?
No.
You don't
What
know
happened?
the story of Jim Sullivan, man?
No.
All right, so
Do not know.
he had a cameo in Easy Rider.
Oh, well, now I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about.
You're old. You should know that movie. Jeez, man. No, Jim Sullivan, he was from originally Oklahoma, and he moved to California, and he started to make his name for himself, playing in local bars, local clubs, and stuff like that. And he eventually found some backers that helped him get some funding to make an album. And it was actually produced by the Wrecking Crew. And there's a lot of lush instrumentation on it, which is their addition to it. But the way that people describe Jim Sullivan is he could really capture you just by, with him and his guitar. And his voice is very unique. There's
It's
a
nice.
very longing
Yeah.
aspect to it. It's pleasant. A lot of people tried to compare him to James Taylor back in the day, but his voice was a little more unique than that. But he puts out this album in, I think, 67, 68. It's called UFO. And it doesn't really pick up any attention.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna look for my copy while you're telling the story.
All right.
Hey, Scott, when you're going out to get a drink, grab me another last word, okay? Would you?
So Jim Sullivan, he cuts another album under the short-lived Playboy Records label. And it was a self-titled album, a little more upbeat, not so much the music that Jim was making in the clubs, very different, but nobody really latched on to him. So he devised this plan. He was going to leave his wife and his son in California. He was going to drive all the way to Nashville to become a songwriter out there, and he was going to make money. He was going to bring them back over, and he was going to drive there himself all alone. And he made it to New Mexico, and he was actually pulled over by the police for being just excessively tired. So
Lonnie Zamora.
there's a lot of that in New Mexico, but he registered for this hotel, never went into it, mind you. He actually took the key and locked it in the room. He continued driving, and his car was found on this remote road near a ranch owned by this family that allegedly had ties to the mafia. They were the Giannetti family. They claim to see him, but they don't know what happened to him. But the nice thing that people like to say is that he caught a ride on a UFO.
That's cool. That's cool. Wow.
And
I'd never heard
a good
that.
album.
I'm like Richard. I never heard it.
If you're going to catch a ride on a UFO, New Mexico is the place to do it.
It seems to be. Yeah, there's just a lot.
When you hear this story, you think, oh, this is a story. And you think, I'm going to go download that after we, go home from the party here. And it's not going to be good. It's good. It's like good music. It's good singing. It's good music. And the whole album is good. Mm-hmm. And I went to look for it in the closet that needs a lot of work, so I couldn't quite get to my stack of albums. But no, I have it in there.
That's okay.
Because they re-released it with like that heavy grain vinyl. It's out now. It's just like the really, it's good. It's good music.
May I share a spooky music story?
Yeah.
I think I know the one, and if so, I want to hear it. And, I get to tell the preface to this, too, because this is one of my favorite stories. And I should have mentioned this earlier, being the resident avocationalist historian, there's a long tradition of telling ghost stories on Christmas Eve. Right. M.R. James was a famous teller of stories, writer of ghost stories. This is a really good one. And if I'm correct, Jim, maybe it has to do with country music.
It does. I grew up with country music. Really country music. My family was from West Virginia, and it was like my wife left me, my dog left me, my car broke down, and, I got my DIVORC. So anyway,
and you know what's amazing about songs like that is it takes a whole room full of people to come up with those kind of songs.
That's right. Well, anyway, this is supposedly a true story, and I heard this years ago before podcasting was invented. And it surrounds two figures in country music, and you might be peripherally familiar with them. One by the name of Merle Kilgore, who wrote the song Ring of Fire for Johnny Cash. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And who was also an artist. And then another guy by the name of Johnny Horton, who had the song The Battle of New Orleans and some other songs. So anyway, they were good friends. This is around 58, 59. They were both interested in the supernatural. So they said they're going to work out a code if one of them goes before the other one, because they want to know, like Houdini. Let's see if this is real. So the code was the drummer is a rummer and he can't keep the beat. So anyway, Johnny Horton goes on within a year or two, ironically, to be killed by a drunk driver. And apparently he had a very strong fear of drunk drivers. He even, before he died, gave a guitar to Merle Kilgore saying, I'm not going to be around. And then this tragedy happened. So several years later, Kilgore, who, again, successful songwriter, an artist in his own right, became the manager for Hank Williams Jr., who was very successful in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. There was somebody in New York, there was like a psychic, and they were listening for a ball game in New York. And it was on a country station. And this person never listened to country music, but it was rained out. So they turned on the station and they play Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. And the DJ comes back on and said, of course, that's the great song Ring of Fire written by my friend Merle Kilgore. So this psychic says, oh, we've been getting these messages from somebody for a Merle Kilgore through these seances that they were holding. And they somehow got in touch with Kilgore. Horton had been dead for a number of years, and said, Mr. Kilgore, I think we have a message for you. Somebody's trying to reach you from the other side. And he was like, yeah. Who? He said, Johnny, someone. Johnny, I don't know who Johnny is. And he said, okay, well, what's the message? And he said, well, the message, it doesn't make any sense. It's the drummer was a rummer and he can't keep the beat.
Wow.
So, and that was in a book. There's a famous Nashville DJ by the name of Ralph Emery, who was on WSM for years and a huge deal and in the country music industry. And he wrote that in his book. And I think there's an account, by Merle Kilgore's son on the internet, if you look it up. But that, to me, was one of the most interesting stories. Either that's a flat-out lie or that's some of the most incredible evidence for life after death ever.
That's one of the best stories. And I'll tell you, where I first heard that story was I was on my way back. My band and I had been performing in Montgomery, Alabama the night before.
Ooh.
And I'll bet Jim knows the connection here.
Yeah.
So, of course, Jim knows this story, too, because, again, he and I were on the phone the next morning. And the reason I called Jim is because I had just been to the Oakwood Cemetery where Hank Williams was buried.
Oh, yeah.
We'd been playing in town. The rest of the band had left the night before to go to another gig, and I was the only one that didn't have to go play anywhere. So I'm like, well, I'm staying in Montgomery, and I'm going to go visit Hank Williams tomorrow morning, and I did. And I went up there, and it was the most eerie and surreal experience because the entire cemetery was empty. But I went up there, and, of course, there is the grave. If you've ever been there, there's Hank and Audrey, you know. And then there's a personal message engraved in the marble from Hank Williams Jr. that says, you know, please respect this site and, you know, don't desecrate basically the grave of Hank Williams, because people always want to go up there and they want to leave flowers, but some people also want to have their picture taken or something. And I was like, you know, I want to be really respectful. I don't want to do anything that would be untoward, but I thought it surely wouldn't be inappropriate to sing a song, right? And so I sang a song by Hank Williams all alone in the graveyard there was a audience of crows, a murder of crows in the tree nearby.
A murder.
Yeah, but I sang a song for Hank Williams there. I think it was probably Lost Highway, right there in the graveyard, you know, right in front of his grave. And I, you know, I mean, that's a really unique experience. And I was like, if anybody would appreciate this, it would be Jim Harold, because, you know, I know Jim's appreciation for country music. And so I'm on my way back driving from Montgomery and like, Jim, guess where I was? He says, you know, I got a good country music ghost story for you. So that was quite an experience that day.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's a cool story.
That's a great story. And that kind of experience, Micah, that's such a spiritual experience. That is so cool. And I'm envious, by the way, of people that like yourself that can play music like that. You know, it's really cool. It's a neat thing. It's a neat story to share. So
what I find interesting about, like, you know, talking about playing in a cemetery is that, you know, the more and more that we learn about, you know, Robert Johnson, the blues musician who went to sell his soul at the crossroads, you know, you learn that he learned to cut his teeth and was taught to play guitar sitting in a cemetery, which is... It builds that legend up a little bit more to the point where, you know, when you listen to those songs, they have that otherworldly feeling to them. Like, you can't not think that the man didn't talk to the devil when he made these songs.
I had the weirdest experience with Robert Johnson's Legend about a month ago.
Uh-oh.
I have the Campfire show where people come on and tell their ghost stories.
Love that show.
His campfire's right behind him right there. You can actually see it. Look at it.
Well,
yeah,
I can see the campfire.
I can
there is, and he can bring it right up.
I just want to say, Campfire is one of the reasons that Astonishing Legends got started.
Thank you.
And we bow down to you. It is so great to have you on the show tonight. There are people that talk about podfathers, and you are the original. A minute ago when you were telling that story and you said way back before podcasts, I was thinking 5 minutes before you started doing it, because that's how long you've been at it. You're so prolific, and we have so much respect for you, and we really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Oh, so. No. Thank you. This is fun. I appreciate it. Yeah. I appreciate it. And Adam Curry is the real podfather, but I'll take paranormal podfather. How about
you
that?
Always say that. You've said that to me before.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the man.
Yeah,
he's the co-inventor. With the Campfire, people, we basically have it where we set up a form and we say, you know, schedule your own time, and we call them, and then we amalgamate the shows. But sometimes the show produces itself, because we don't say call this day if you have UFO stories, call that day if you have ghost stories. But some days the calls line up like there's an unseen hand producing them. And this was about a month ago. And I know I'm going to miss something about this. Well, we had a woman call in about an extraordinary series of synchronicities in her life. And then we had a guy call in from Australia who talked about he went to visit the town where his, high school sweetheart or something was. She had died, and he was thinking of her. And that night he was asleep, and his iPad came on and started playing Robert Johnson. And the thing is that his friend loved Robert Johnson, and he bought that compilation on iTunes or something because of that connection, and had never played it, but it started playing itself. Now, that would be weird enough. The next caller is a woman who is from England, and she talked about a friend of hers who unfortunately committed suicide, and this strange series of events happened, and they were driving to his funeral, and this song from Kiss that he loved came on, and then they got to the funeral late, and they said, all you missed was the opening song, and it happened to be the same song, which was weird. But then I started telling her, I said, well, there was just this weird synchronistic story. about, music and how synchronicities happen with music. I've had some of them of my own with past loved ones. And she said, yeah. And I told her there was this art, and I told her the Robert Johnson story because I figured I'd put these back to back on the show. And she said, oh my God, Jim, you're not going to believe this. And I'm like, what? She said, I just finished a drawing of a musician a few minutes before we talked on the phone. And I said, yeah, who was the artist? She said, Robert Johnson. And she sent me the picture immediately after the show. And it was Robert Johnson at the Crossroads. So I called that episode, what was it? Synchronicity at the Crossroads. I mean, it's just crazy. It was just crazy. It was crazy because it was one of those things where if I heard it, I'm like, oh, come on, that's too on the nose. But it happened. It happened sitting right here about a month ago. And none of it was pre-planned. It was just totally weird. It was a synchronicity of synchronicities. Very strange.
Hey, Jim, what do you think the synchronicities mean? I had a pretty weird one recently myself, which wasn't related to music. But I mean, what do you think the synchronicity actually entails? Is there some significance to the synchronicity and that experience itself?
I don't know. That's my line, guys. I don't know. I just know something weird's going on, but I don't know what it is.
Quick question for you, Jim. Being a regular podcaster and way more prolific than we are, we find them a lot with the topics we cover. Mm-hmm. Things come out and somehow it's like we don't plan it at all because we can't plan anything because we're inept. But we'll release a show and there'll be some anniversary relating to the topic or something. Does that kind of stuff happen to you too?
Yeah, weird stuff like that happens. I almost think sometimes it's a wink and a nudge. And sometimes there might even be a trickster element, to it. Like, hey, you want to delve in this stuff? I'll show you something. And I think that
feels right. It feels like people, and I don't know if you guys have had really big supernatural experiences. I've never really had a ghost or seen a UFO.
This is the great tragedy of Rich right here.
Yeah.
I know.
He's only written one of the greatest paranormal movies ever, but
yes, one of the greatest paranormal movies ever. Here. I will drink to that. Mothman Prophecies.
You're too kind. And for those of you at home, it's available on Amazon.
Those royalty checks, how sweet it is.
Still one of my favorite films to this day, seriously.
And I wasn't really planning on talking about that, but it is, it is a Christmas movie,
Yeah,
it is.
Point.
And for me, sort of the artistic impulse, look, anyone who knows any of this stuff and is listening to this show probably knows that obviously I was not paying scrupulous attention to recording all of the facts of the Mothman case in the movie. There was a lot of invention. A lot of the events that happened are represented in a certain way.
Are you saying this because you've been reamed by trolls for years now? Or are you just
No, not really. They're not, oddly enough, there are not a lot of Mothman purists who are like, how dare you not?
It's not a documentary. It's a piece of entertainment.
Exactly.
But the notion of placing it on Christmas Eve, the Silver Bridge did, that incident did occur in December.
Yeah.
But putting it on Christmas Eve and sort of marrying it to the very human traditions, but also bringing in the supernatural and the unknowable, to me felt very natural. And I was going to say, in response to what Jim was talking about and what Micah was asking about synchronicities, I would love to know what you guys think. But the more you look into this stuff and the more books you read, the more people you talk to, the more you arrive at a place of, okay, this stuff happens. Things happen. We get that. That's no longer the question. The evidence is sort of there. It's the theory behind it. Why is it happening? Who is it representing? Who's talking? What's going on? And that human impulse to want to immediately then invent a cosmology and say, okay, so here's what it is. Here's what it means. Here's the punchline. That's what you want to do. And I find that with groups of people like this, typically there's that sort of Fortean impulse not to do that.
You mean groups like us, huddled in the corner at this Christmas party?
Yeah.
Huddled by the fire.
I don't know about you guys. I'm over here.
as our partners are all looking at us going, why do they always group up like that and talk about that weird You know what? Let them. It's like something is happening, but we simply don't know what.
I kind of have an interesting analogy here, and I'm going to bring it into the more nerdy side of things. So one of the things that I'm working on right now is an actual play Dungeons & Dragons podcast. So full nerding out here. But one of the settings in which you can play Dungeons & Dragons is called the Forgotten Realms. And the way that the magic works in the Forgotten Realms is that there is essentially a god that creates it by weaving together strands of magic, essentially. So when you actually look at the magic, you're looking at a collection of strands. So for me, when you have these synchronous moments, what I firmly believe is that something is allowing you to take a look at the weave and just see that these things are connected in some way. You may not know how they're connected. And ultimately, I think for me, living with the mystery is a lot more interesting than looking for the solution. Because with the solution, what is left to the mystery, And
But Rob, when you started out, were you looking for the answer? Because I was.
I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and I thought for the longest time that I wanted answers. And then I think I just arrived at the conclusion that what would having the answers really mean to me? And for a lot of people who have studied this stuff longer than I have, I'm sure it would mean a lot more. But I am one of those people that firmly enjoys living in the mystery.
Oh, you guys are light years ahead of me. You guys were looking for the answer. I spent 20 years looking for the question. Seriously. I'm the only one here still trying to figure out the question.
Did you ever find any question?
I don't even know the question. Looking the wrong guy, Rich.
But that brings up a good point. We may be so far off base with our explanations. It's kind of like an ant trying to explain a skyscraper.
Yeah.
And whatever's going on may be so far beyond our comprehension that our explanations are laughable, maybe if you compare it to the actual reality.
Well, yeah, and back to Rob's point, again, looking at that through the magical lens, I'm reminded of Arthur C. Clarke, talking about any significantly advanced technological development or technology would be indistinguishable from magic to a lesser advanced civilization perceiving it, right? I think it's Clarke's third law. And we could say, okay, these things which we call supernatural, let's filter that through a technological lens. That's the popular thing to do these days. What if UFOs, rather than being, incredible technology, like we would perceive it, right? A technology a propulsion system that can carry an alien, being from, Proxima Centauri to here. What if that's just what it looks like when the operators enter the Matrix and interact with us, the Sims? And what if the synchronicities are just glitches in the Matrix in that literal sense, like what we see in the films? What if that represents little minor rips, tears, wrinkles in time itself, and time just a portion of that fabric of that matrix in which we operate? When you begin to think about the paranormal in that way, I'm not really a proponent of one of these grand unified theories of the paranormal, but boy, I tell you, if there was one, it's interesting that a lot of the sort of stuff people have been saying was paranormal for years is starting to come around and finally kind of touch the edges of what Elon Musk and, a lot of others talk about when they discuss the idea of a simulated reality. So I like to at least think that maybe there could be some harmony there, whether or not we see a grand unified theory.
I think when it comes to something like UFOs, it's, it was my focus for like about 5 years. One of the things that always fascinated me is just how, at the bare bones level, what a UFO is language. It's a communication device at the very base minimum, because when you talk to witnesses, they react in a certain way whenever they see a UFO. When you talk to abductees or experiencers or something like that, one of the most eerie stories that I ever heard was one that Mike Clellan put in one of his books. And he talked about how he was sitting in bed one night just reading, and he saw a light outside, and he went to the window and he saw a group of 5 gray aliens approaching his house. And instead of going into panic mode, he got into bed and he fell asleep. That doesn't make sense to me. That at the base, there is some form of language there.
And that happens so much that people just go back to sleep.
No, and we've talked about
it happened to Rob. It happened.
Forrest calls it paranormal apathy.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, because like Occam's razor almost doesn't apply. Or if it does, it's on such a deep level that we understand it in totally different means. And I think that's what's so fascinating about it all. Even if you think of like the UFO itself as like a living organism, because like it seems like that theory has been given life again, because it was big in the 50s, and now it's kind of returned with I can't remember the documentary. I think it was just called Lights in the Sky that just came out. This one female, I forget. I think she was like a photo expert or something like that. Slowed down and like zoomed in on the Colorado drone footage and stuff like that, and what these things look like. At least that close up, they look like amoebas and like cell-like organisms that are doing strange things. So I think I've always just like gravitated to those aspects, the really off the wall aspects, and it's interesting to see that they're kind of like they're given a little more of a spotlight now, which I it's just so fascinating to me.
Hey man, what are you doing? You sneaking away to make a phone call?
Yeah, I thought I'd call my parents real quick to just say Merry Christmas before I had too much nog.
That's actually a good idea. I should do the same. You know, I need to call my mom anyway. She's looking for a new phone, and I'm actually anxious to tell her about Mint Mobile's holiday deal that we're supposed to talk about in tonight's spot for them.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Let the listeners know about it. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm going to talk to my mom. Hey, how's it going? What are you guys doing?
Folks, this is the absolute best time to be a listener to our show, because Mint Mobile has come up with a plan that was so good, we had to call and make sure the talking points were right. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months free. That means these plans are starting out at just $15 a month. They're actually able to do this because they were the first company to sell premium wireless service online only.
Hey, what are you just about done with the spot already?
Yeah, just about, man.
Look, folks, Scott and I have been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal. And not only has it been great for our personal communications and our wallets, we've counted on Mint to help us with comms and media for our show, and it's performed splendidly and reliably. So take it from us when we say, now is the perfect time to switch.
Yeah, this price right now is going to get your attention at just $15 a month, but take it from us, you won't believe the service you get. For example, all plans, not all except some, or there's fine print, I mean all plans, come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Again, starting at just $15 a month. I've saved over $2,000 since I switched both my wife and I over to Mint Mobile 21 months ago, and that was on a 2-year-old deal that was twice as much as this one. I'm wondering, you think if I quit and come back, they'll let me have this new one?
They're not going to let you do that. Well, look, here's the other thing. You don't have to change phones either. Keep all of your contacts and your same phone number, and then just sit back and save.
Yeah, and if you're not 100% satisfied, Mint Mobile has you covered with their 7-day money-back guarantee.
Yeah, ask any elf and they'll tell you. This is the best deal on mobile service you'll get this year. For a limited time, buy any 3-month mobile plan and get 3 more months for free just by going to mintmobile.com/AL.
That's mintmobile.com/AL. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/AL. I seriously can't believe this deal. All right, man, I'm going back inside to join the game. Do you have any other orders of business?
Well, I did want to ask you one quick question. Are you working on any New Year's resolutions for 2021?
Well, actually, I'm just going to go with survive.
That's a good one.
But on a more serious note, it's the same one it always is. It has been for a long time with me. It's exercise more and work out a little more.
Well, I guess it's just like the rest of us. Well, 2021 is a new beginning. We all know how rough it's been for the personal service providers, like gyms and salons, and the small business owners, the family restaurants, any business where you depend on in-person customers. And if you can hang on until things open up again, and they will open up again, people are going to be desperate to come visit you like normal. And you'll need to be ready. At the very least, you need a place for them to go online to find out what your status is and how they can help.
Yeah, and that goes for the dreamer, maker, or doer. If you're ready to bring your ideas to the marketplace, it's time to get serious about the impression you make online. You need to be seen in the best light. So don't wait another minute to create and launch a stellar website that stops potential customers in their tracks. And there's no better place to begin then Squarespace.
It's so much easier than you think to have the website and online store you've always wanted. Something you're confident will do the job and are proud to share. Once we put our website on Squarespace, their all-in-one service solves so many problems for us, from the design itself to all the streamlined functionality that makes a website user-friendly. And that's what it's really all about.
You have total control over the look and feel of your site. You can stay in contact with your clients through customized email campaigns. You can take advantage of truly dynamic e-commerce facets, total social media integration, and sales analytics. And that oh-so-important search engine optimization that puts your particular know-how at the top of the search list.
As an entrepreneur, if you're waiting for a one-stop service to fulfill all your online needs, total world-class site design, the ability to customize and update on the fly with just a few clicks, ready for mobile devices without another step, check out squarespace.com/legends for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code LEGENDS to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Again, that's squarespace.com/legends.
How's it? This is Brant from Hawaii, but I'm living in Japan. 今聞いているのはスコット・フィルブルクとフォーレスト・バージェスの Astonishing Legends です。では番組に戻りましょう。
Since we're at a party, it feels right to talk about other parties. So one thing that I've noticed in a lot of grand unified, theories of the paranormal, the kind of broader connected lines, is we forget to put humans in it, and how the way we speak, the way we talk, and the avenues we have for discussing these things change the stories and inform us. And my 5-year anniversary with Astonishing Legends was in September. So now I've been crazy for 5 years.
Right.
But in, my quote unquote real life, even though what we're doing now feels way more real, but maybe it's just the bat squatch talking. I don't really have any friends or family who have ever been interested in the paranormal. That's not to say that they're not supportive, but it's not something I am exposed to in my day-to-day life at my full-time job. Yes, I have one of those. Isn't that sad? At my full-time job, in my social circles and people I date and activities I do and clubs I'm involved in. But one thing I've noticed in the 5 years is, Tess works for a paranormal podcast is everyone's go-to fun fact. And when that kind of gets out at parties, even at my work, people will come up to me in random small moments, kind of like the one we're having right now. And they tell me a story. And it is people, my full-time job, I actually work for the DOD. As a contractor.
I can't believe you're copying, but thank you.
I do.
sharing.
Yeah. I'm a defense contractor. Sorry. And before that, I worked for the Smithsonian. So I've been in DC in the government my whole career.
She secretly controls our entire organization for anybody that's listening to us.
I do have a clearance level that I can't disclose.
Need to know basis.
But that being said, what I'm saying is, especially at work, I talk to a lot of straight-laced people. And the amount of people who you would never expect to, one, feel comfortable, and two, even have the stories, you kind of become beacons. And podcasts and subreddits and movie communities and all these things that we have kind of become these little beacons in the night for discussing this. And as we connect and as these avenues are opened, I think discussing it actually makes everything more real. And the ability to feel comfortable in that communication is part of the grand unified theory of the paranormal. And to forget us in that, I think is sometimes, a mistake.
What else do we have to look at? What else is there but our experience of the thing that cannot be nailed down and can't be trapped in a laboratory? So it's always a human story. And I love the fact that people come to you, and I'm actually wondering about, the rest of you, if people who find out what it is you do or, about your podcasts and things, if that immediately, because I think it does, I think it becomes people like, oh, so you'll listen without judgment or criticism or mockery. Mm-hmm. And so let me share with you something that is very personal. And it's not about me making money or wanting attention. Just here's something that happened. Is anyone else ever talking about this? I mean, do people do that?
Well, actually, I got to say with my campfire show, I was totally surprised about that. I started the original show, Paranormal Podcast, in 2005. I started this show.
2005. That's 2005, people.
In 1905, I got out the
No, you're not that old, Jim. I'm just saying.
Cylinders and hair.
You've been out there a long time. No. It's awesome. It's, yeah.
And then in 2009, I started Campfire. And I thought, this will be a fun little... one week, I didn't have a topic. And I'm like, well, why don't I just have listener stories? Now, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I realized, So anyway, I started this show, and I thought it would just be fun, but I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, oh, my God, I can tell these stories, and you're not going to make fun of me, or you're not going to say this is BS, or whatever it is, because they're used to being ridiculed. And it just shocked me how many people have stories that they want to tell, and they need somebody to just listen to them. That's it. Just listen to them and acknowledge that experience and not say, well, are you sure it wasn't swamp gas, whatever it might be. And it really, I think it really does speak to it. And then to Richard's point, it is that scenario where when people find out you do this, they say, and even the skeptics will say, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't go for it. There was this one time though, and then they'll tell their story. I mean, I think almost everybody, and even Dr. Michael Shermer, there's a great article in Scientific American about one of his paranormal experiences, about when enforced to shaking his head, so he probably knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. And it's where he was getting married, I guess, later in life, and his wife's grandfather, I think it was, or father or grandfather had passed. And she said, I wish he was here today. I wish he was here. And there was a radio that he had given her that was broken. And all of a sudden that day, it started playing on their wedding day. And then at the end of the day, it stopped playing and it never played again. And Shermer said, famous skeptic, of course, said, of course it wasn't paranormal, but it's one to shake one's skepticism to the core. And the thing is that, and I've interviewed Shermer, and a heck of a nice guy. And what I love about him, he may disagree with you, but he fully supports your right to believe in the supernatural, which I think so much is lacking these days of being able to agree to disagree. But even the hardest core skeptic, Dr. Michael Shermer, has his own supernatural story. I mean, I think that's great.
Well, I wouldn't call him maybe not to disagree. I mean,
but a well-known skeptic, I should say.
Yeah. We've had that conversation. Yeah, I mean, there are people who might be much further on the ideological spectrum as far as skepticism goes. Shermer, again, to me, is the ideal skeptic in the sense that he is a person who says, well, do you have evidence for that claim? But when he had his own, again, what you could only call like what Jim's describing there. And again, I've read that, blog too, and it's an incredible story. When you've had that experience that seems to be something paranormal and you come away from it going, I'm sure there's a rational explanation. And, I'm with Shermer on this. I mean, I really think at some point, maybe the paranormal or the supernatural, we will redefine it once we understand it. But for the time being, it's not something we understand. We haven't been able to connect the limitations of science to the unknown that we see in the distance on that horizon. Once science is able to bridge that gap, the supernatural becomes natural, right? All Shermer's saying is, I didn't have a natural explanation for what happened that day, and yet he got ridiculed. People jump in there on the blog and they're commenting, I am almost embarrassed to read this. And I'm thinking, the problem is that people think that the right way to go about engaging in dialogue anymore is to ridicule the experiences of others. How wonderful and how diverse our world is. Creeds, religions, ideas, height, color, everything you can imagine. We are all so different, and that I couldn't imagine anything more beautiful. So why can't we all have the opportunity within reason to interpret our experiences, each and to his own, And Shermer had that one that expanded, if anything, his scope of what reality was and how far those limits can go. I think that's a beautiful thing, frankly. And I think he's brave to talk about it too.
I agree.
I agree with you, and I also think you're completely wrong. I need one more.
That's the last word.
One of those Baby Yodas, then. We'll drink to that.
Baby Yoda.
I need one more Baby Yoda. I don't hear about the fireplace. Well,
Richard, is that a lampshade? You have a lampshade on your head, don't you? That's what it looks like over there in the corner.
Here's the thing. We do our thing. We know who our audience is. Shermer does his thing. And he knows who his audience is. And they're going to have the same reaction when he says, hey, something odd happened. I don't really understand it. To if we get too Fortean buzzkilly, because people come to us for wonder and for mystery. And while, Micah, I agree with you, I think there are a lot of things that as we understand them slowly drift into the realm of the natural and not the supernatural. But the more I read of, George Hansen and Patrick Harper, and this wonderful book I just read by a guy named S.D. Tucker called Blithe Spirits, which is very much like Trickster and the Paranormal by George Hansen.
When Rich Hatem mentions a book, we write it down.
Richard Hatem, hashtag Richard Hatem Book Club on Twitter.
Yeah,
check it
it's
out.
real.
Make great stocking stuffers.
It's stocking stuffers. You're totally correct. But he looks at it's a book about the poltergeist phenomenon, but through the prism of the trickster in mythology. And he sort of comes to the conclusion that the supernatural and the paranormal does exist, and it exists for the sole purpose of not ever making sense. It exists for us to puzzle on, and it will never reveal itself. And there's this sort of like that, the center of the Tootsie Pop, you can lick as much as you want, but you'll never get to the actual Tootsie Pop center.
Oh my God.
So what you're saying is that everyone on this call has been checked.
No. What he's saying is that I finally, after 20 years, I've found the question. Dude, I found the question. How many licks does it take to get to the pop? I finally found the question.
Micah, that is the question.
So what you're saying is the talking heads were right. Stop making sense.
Stop making sense. In a way, don't we need that? What is it about us as human beings? And of course, everyone's different. There are some human beings like Shermer and other debunkers whose personalities are such that they need things to make sense, and they like it when things make sense. It's almost the difference between someone who wants a clean, organized office and someone who likes a messy office. And who is to say who is more productive? But the fact of the matter is, I think the people gathered around the fireplace right now, and not these other suckers over there by the piano who just want to sing Cole Porter songs.
What are they doing, really? Seriously, they're not even singing at this point.
They get no kick out of
you
champagne.
serve them drinks. You tell me.
I know, right? Yeah, my fault. Yeah, I won't tell you what I fed them, by the way. Yeah.
But I mean, we're the ones who, our sweet spot is not knowing, is looking out that window at the snow and the darkness beyond, and being very comfortable and intrigued and scared, but okay with the idea that maybe it doesn't all make sense.
One thing that teased me off and is a pet peeve is this idea among some people. Well, I'm talking not fair skeptics, but serious debunkers. Oh, you paranormal people,
yeah.
You're all crazy and you don't respect science. Now, wait a minute. I have great respect for science. I have great respect for medicine. We all make jokes about Zoom, but look, of course, we're in Scott's house looking at Zoom. But when you look at Zoom, and people all over the country can go together, years ago, if people were doing that during a party, that would take satellite feeds and things. And here we're doing it. We're not really doing it. We're all at Scott's house. But if we were doing it, it would be a technological marvel that we take for granted. The fact that we're going to probably here in a couple of weeks have a vaccine for something that people didn't even know existed a year ago. I mean, God bless science, which would really get somebody's goat too, if the dichotomy there. But my point is, I think intellectually, I'm the kind of person who can walk and chew gum at the same time. Some people may doubt that, but I believe that I can respect science, believe in science, think that science is great, but yet realize there is this space, to Richard's point, where we don't have it all figured out, and we may never have it all figured out, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that science doesn't exist and isn't great. You can have both viewpoints at the same time. And I think that it's a weak intellect that can't.
Well, yeah, and then you get to the other end of the spectrum where you get Richard Gere. So I'll tell you the Richard Gere story.
Oh, I love this story. I haven't heard this in a while.
There's a Richard Gere story?
There's a Richard Gere story.
Now Tess is suddenly back by the fireplace.
You've piqued her
Also,
interest.
we need to call our lawyers. What's it with the libel and slander lawyers? So
I'm going on mute.
Tess is opening up another bat squatch. All right. There are people on sort of the one far end of the spectrum who believe that science will ultimately unravel everything, and everything will be brought into the realm of the materialist dominant, which is what our culture is. And I have no complaints about that, because again, as Jim was pointing out, it brings us computers and medicine and all kinds of great things. But then the question is that the only thing we have, or do we live in a world where two things operate? And so having dinner with Richard Gere and about 8 other people in Baltimore, in the Inner Harbor, 20 years ago, before he signed on to do the movie, but was circling it. And we're talking about this stuff. And of course, if you know anything about Richard Gere, you know that he's a very spiritual guy and he follows the Dalai Lama and that his mind is definitely open. But I didn't know all of the ins and outs of his belief. But we're talking about the script for the Mothman Prophecies and what we want the movie to ultimately be. And we've all had a few glasses of wine. And we're in the middle of a noisy restaurant. Remember that? Remember when you could be in the middle of a noisy restaurant?
Mm-hmm. I'd almost forgotten. Gosh, wow.
And we're talking, and we get to the point where it's like, well, what is the point of the Mothman Prophecies? And I was sort of saying, well, the point is that as human beings on this plane that we are on now, as much as we might want to know the ultimate answer to everything, we simply can't. And that's when he leaned across the table at me with his finger out, pointing at me, and he said, "That's where you're wrong, because I think you can."
And as we all know, the answer is 42. I read,
Yes.
The Galaxy. I know the answer.
If only Douglas Adams was with us at that dinner. But he was expressing a point of view that from a spiritual place and a place of spiritual understanding and a revelation and transcendence, and you finally can, in our human incarnation, understand all the secrets of the universe. And I do not believe that. I'm in the camp that says there's a mystery and it's supposed to be a mystery.
No, and I just want to say, and I've been waiting to jump in on this for almost 45 minutes. This is the thing that I think about when I think about, and Jim, you've been at it longer than I have, or longer than Forrest and I have, and so have you, Micah. I feel like the more you look at this thing, the more it says, don't look at me, or I'm not going to let you look at me. It's easy to fall back on the Trickster and the Paranormal, which, by the way, I have not read that book. I need to read it. But like the idea of it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I'm getting there. We just got to Siren Call. Thank you. But like what I'm saying is like you get around to this whole region of stuff. And Micah, what's going on? So I'm gonna come.
That was the Trickster knocking at the door. Actually.
Oh no, he's going over to the. Yeah, he's going over to the eggnog bowl.
Actually, Scott, let me just explain. We're doing the Secret Santa, and I think he forgot to pick a name, so he's. Oh. Hang on one second. Are you still doing that? Okay, I'm sorry. They got the Secret Santa. He's got to go draw his name. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, that's okay. It's okay. So all I was gonna say is I feel like that the more that you look at it, the more it doesn't want to be looked at. This is a fallback cop-out. It's a thing that everybody is going to say that people that do what we do are looking at. And it's like, oh, it's all because you don't understand quantum physics that you say quantum physics is what makes everything work. But there is the whole thing about the Schrodinger's cat and all of that stuff about the process of being observed. And there's something about this that feels really common about like once it gets observed, if it doesn't want to be observed or the fact of observing it changes it. It's just, I can't put my finger on it, but it all feels like it ties together. And literally 4 or 5 people that were sitting here with us have left.
It's amazing.
I have that effect upon people, you know? I kind of noticed that.
It's not you, Jim. It's me. It's me. They're just like, God, Scott's making one of his speeches.
Still waiting for Forrest.
Yeah, I know.
The last thing I saw with Forrest was... He had a glass in his hand.
Yeah.
It had a dark brown solution in it.
Yeah.
He was staring into it.
Yeah.
And he was muttering, "One day. One day, Scott."
It's my bad. I knew I shouldn't have given him that. Gosh.
And now, then what? I think he's out by your car. I don't know. It's cold outside. I don't
Wait,
think you can really do
is this where
anything.
the zany comedy comes in, where we have to like go on a hunt for Forrest Burgess now?
Yeah,
Like,
right now.
Yes, we
right
do,
now.
Rob.
No, it is
This
freezing
it.
outside. If he's not back in
Anyone
20
know where he lives? Where he's from?
No.
Who drove him? By the way,
He's
who
from
drove
that
him here?
place that he doesn't
Tomorrow
really talk
he'll
about.
be like iced up in the snow, and they'll have to chisel him out, kind of thing.
like
My
that,
favorite-
like that Unsolved Mysteries episode where that one lady like froze in the snow, and then they thawed her, and she just woke up straight from a coma. It was that episode of Unsolved Mysteries
Trickster.
like gets to me every time because the look on her face as they find her in the snow is so terrifying.
When Forrest comes back, are we going to say update? No.
We got to. We definitely
we're
got to.
No. But the worst part of this will be that he will hear it when it airs instead of right now. Speaking of which, you know what? I'm going to run over to the bar. Does anybody need any eggnog? I'll be back in a minute. We're going to
Come over here. I'll fix you one and bring it to you if you want.
Okay, Micah, I'm on my way.
Scott, get me some of those things. They're on the platter that just went by. They're the little
Why
little
can't
hot
you ever
dogs
say what
wrapped
you
up in
want?
a thing. What?
Okay.
Pig in a blanket.
Oh, the
mustard.
pigs in the blanket.
Yeah. With the dark, with the mustard, with the seeds. Thank you.
Okay,
Just
I'll be
a
right back.
plate of those. Thank you. And some shrimp. Thanks.
And some calamari, would you?
I know. Boy, you know what? Scott really knows how to do this.
does.
There is an art to the Christmas party, and he and Em they've really figured it out.
Well, the calamari, Micah mentioned it. Usually it's really gummy, but this
Yeah.
calamari is very crispy and just done
Yeah,
just
exactly.
right,
Yeah, when it's crispy, it's delicious. Otherwise, it's just chewing gum it's like chewing gum that tastes like fish
It's like
sticks.
eating a breaded rubber band.
Yeah. Fish stick flavored rubber band. There you go.
a deep fried rubber band that you must dip into a bright orange sauce. But
Rich,
well, yeah.
dude, we have totally just hijacked the podcast. I mean, the party because the guys,
Oh my god.
the guys
It
have
worked.
left the
It
room.
worked. We got rid of them.
Look,
now.
that's fine.
Welcome
Hey,
to
you know
Astonishing
what?
Legends,
Whoa.
everybody.
That's kind of what I was going to say. It's like, we're all over here, and this happens at every party. Does it happen for you guys too, where it's like you go with the intention of talking to everybody, and within 5 minutes, you're just with your group in one corner.
Yeah, man.
And, and then on the ride home, Susan's going to be like, what were you doing? Oh, don't even tell me. You were just over there doing your ghost thing. And it's like, well, yeah, I was. But and in that way, I feel like a sports fan, because I'm part of a subculture that talks about a certain thing to a crazy detail. But do you guys find that with your wives and partners and boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff, that it's like, they're sort of like, yeah, you go have fun. You go talk about that stuff. I'm going to go be over here just talking about real things. Like, do you, is there like a whole, or are they really into it?
Just go be weird in the corner, Go be weird in the corner.
Right. Yeah.
Well, my wife's actually into a lot of it. She's not much of a UFO person or maybe a cryptid person, but certainly ghosts, afterlife, all that stuff. She had a vision of Mary after her mother's death.
Wow.
Wait,
And-
what? Wait, whoa. Slow down. Hit the brakes.
Yeah,
What?
you want
Tell
me to?
tell me.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you a story. Imagine that. Okay, so here's what happened. This was back right before 9/11. My mother-in-law was very ill. In fact, she was dying, and she came home to do at-home hospice. But the thing is that we thought we were talking about weeks, and she'd been home, I think, a day or two. And that particular evening, at that point, we'd been married for 5 years. We had our little girl at that point who was about to turn 2. And my wife was over at her parents' house, was staying with her mom in the evening. And her mom's like, go home. You need to be home. You've got the small child. You got your husband. Go home. And she's like, no, I want to stay with you longer. I want to stay a little longer this evening. And she's like, no, go home. It was almost like she was pushing her away. So anyway, she calls over there about 10 o'clock at night. Everything seems okay. Go to bed. 2 o'clock in the morning. We're both in bed. And this is before podcasting for me, before it existed. So it wasn't tied to any of that. So anyway, she wakes up and she looks over at my shoulder. And I sleep like the dead. I mean, when I'm out, I'm out. She looks over my shoulder and she says what she describes as Mary, a vision of Mary, full body, Mary, Mother Mary. And the family's Catholic, as I mentioned before. She said it was unlike anything you ever have seen in your life. And then as soon as she's there, she goes away. and she falls back asleep. But she says, I was awake when this happened. I was absolutely awake. About 2:30, the phone rang, and it's my father-in-law. She answers the phone and says, Dad, what's going on? And he said, she's gone. And she says, who's gone? What are you talking about? Your mom, she just passed about a half hour ago. Right when she saw Mary. And the thing is that Mary was a very big deal for my mother-in-law. As a devout Catholic, she followed her very closely. She brought roses to her and did all these different things. Mary was her jam, as it were, her spiritual jam. So, my wife says 100% she saw a vision of Mary right when her mom died. And she told me that day. I mean, right after it happened. So it wasn't something she told me 10 years later. Yeah. She told me that day. So I believe her 100% because, she's a pretty rational person and can't be, you got to be somewhat intelligent. She married me. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you're talking about, before 9/11, so it's 2000, 2001. It's not 1,000 years ago.
No.
I don't know what church you guys attend, if you attend any church, or if she does, or what her beliefs are, but I would be surprised if visions of the Virgin Mary were considered common or expected or something that was talked about. I don't think that's a big part of the Catholic experience in the modern world.
Yeah, I don't think it happens every day by no means.
No.
I don't think it's expected, or people are like, oh, well, it happens to everyone at one point. It'll happen to you too. So the fact that this happened, I bet, Catholic or not, I bet was kind of a shock to her. I bet in retrospect, she was like, I hear about haunted houses and UFOs. I never thought I'd see the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, it wasn't something that it was on the menu. I mean, she's Catholic. She's prior. We call I'm not a Catholic. I just play one on television when I go to church with them. But they call it CEOs: Christmas, Easter, and what's the other one? Oh, I can't think of what the O is. The other one.
What's the O? I don't. We used to call them cafeteria Catholics.
Yeah, no, it's CEO, Christmas, Easter, and something else I'm forgetting. That's at this point the extent of our church attendance. But that blew her away. But she's very much into it. My kids totally think I'm nuts. And they're like, yeah, Dad, okay, that's nice.
Dad's doing another one of his podcasts. That's what I get.
Well, my kids it's funny because my kids we're the poor people at our school. So the school that my daughters both went to high school is a private school and way too expensive. Very good school. Doctors, lawyers, pillars of the community, and then the kids of the guy who sits here and talks about Bigfoot.
By the way, I just looked it up, Jim. CEO is Christmas, Easter only.
Yes, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Never
you.
would have thought of only. I haven't celebrated only in,
It's been a long time.
Is that
probably
like
since I was 7.
No, it's only one more.
Yes, I was going to ask you, could I try one of those, please? If you don't mind.
Yeah, here you go.
Pass it around. I want to taste it too.
Bat squatch.
Yeah. It sounds like it's something that should taste like bat poop, but wait, let me hold on.
For the record, I just want to say for the record, that is not technically a sponsor. We're just talking.
Yeah.
It just happens to be a fine beer.
Oh, bat
If they would
squash
like to
so
sponsor us, stop. Please send it my way. I've already had Miller High Life.
Oh, it's good.
That's the champagne
really
of beers.
good.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
That's pretty yummy. Micah, did you like that? That was pretty good.
The champagne or the bat squatch? Which one?
The bat squash. I haven't had the champagne. Oh, where's the champagne? Oh,
Sure,
wow.
The champagne of
Miller High
beers,
Life.
Miller High Life.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford the real champagne tonight, Rich. This is something Rich will appreciate. You noticed them, John Klein. And because you noticed them, they noticed you. Or was it the other way around? They noticed him first, and then he noticed
They noticed you noticing them. I never get it right.
Yeah,
either.
it's like a
They
mirror.
noticed that you noticed. They saw you when you went to the bus stop. They noticed.
When you notice them, they noticed
noticing them.
Yeah, but that's my favorite part of that whole film. And it kind of bespeaks some of the stuff we're talking about here tonight in the context of almost like that Nietzsche quote, that when you look into the abyss, right, and it looking back at you, a lot of people describe the unexplained sort of like that, really, and that John Keel was really in that kind of liminal area where, okay, he might have come into it kind of as a skeptic. He travels throughout the Orient, as chronicled in that wonderful book, Jadoo. comes back having had a near close encounter with a Yeti in Nepal. And then he's like, oh, you know, maybe there's a little more to all this stuff than I thought. And it's like at that point, it's like his gateway drug. Oh, wow, now I'm interested in all this stuff. And the moment it all seems to come together for him is where he meets that Swami someplace, or I don't know, it might just, you know, a seer, was actually a blind man, if memory serves. He goes up to meet this guy. There's no way the guy could have possibly known that Keel was coming. But when he gets there, he says, Shri Keel, sit down, you know, invites him to have a seat and everything. And so they have this conversation, this very metaphysical conversation, where it kind of culminates in the mystic saying to John Keel, Shri Keel, half the world is blinded by skepticism. And he comes back from that whole experience thinking, God, man, maybe this world is stranger. And where is he? And Rob, you'll appreciate this. You know, where is he, maybe a decade and a half later? He's sitting in West Virginia watching amorphous globs of light hovering over, you know, West Virginia. And in his journals, you know, Doug Skinner has done a fantastic job uploading those. Isn't that a great website? I love johnkeel.com. Again,
God bless those guys.
It is incredible. I mean, again, ladies and gents at home, if you're not familiar with this, because we obviously all just geek out over this kind of stuff, you know, Keel's actual original files uploaded onto this website, you know, in PDF format and the like, so that you can read, you know, you can see his business cards, his personal notes, newsletters that he sent out over the years, publications, all kinds of stuff, rare, you know, autographed copies of things, you know, that he'd signed or that he'd had signed. And then there are those handwritten notepads, you know, where he's sitting there, he says, 1 o'clock in the morning, purple light shows up again. Damn it, I'm scared.
It's so great. But he was in real time reporting what he was experiencing. And and when I wrote, and I was so into it and like, oh my God, I'm going to write this thing. And so fascinated with John Keel. And when I wrote it, I'm like, oh my God, maybe I'll meet him. And then I did meet him. And my dream was that somehow we were going to like become best friends. And I was going to get to go to his apartment in New York and like look at all of his stuff and
drink
and like and like I figured he would have like the tapes of his conversations with Mr. Apol and Indrid Cold, and I didn't know that even he, at the moment he was making those tapes, when he played them back, it was just static. He had heard a voice, but later when he played it, he only heard his voice, and on the other end of the phone, just static.
Oh, that's like the Sally house for me.
How have you not told us that before now? Yes, Tess, tell everybody what the ghost, people that don't remember, what the voice you heard in your ear was at the Sally house.
Yeah, when we were at the Sally house, I mean, if you listen to this podcast all the time or interact with me on social media, sorry, it's this again. Or my parents, who I did call in the middle of the night, and they're like, stop watching the scary movies. And I was like, it's not a scary movie. It happened to me. Basically, you know, we were just in the house. I was born in 94. So to me, it looked like any suburban house that I grew up visiting. It looked like one of my aunt's houses. There was absolutely nothing special, scary, or notable about it for an hour. And then when we were kind of messing about and starting to do the EVPs for real, and we really, you know, took the time to kind of set up something more serious and kind of, you know, give the house its chance to speak, I felt a voice inside my head and something moved my hair. But Scott and Forrest, who were in the room, and Megan, saw me, I think, go pale, but heard nothing.
By the way, shout out to our friend Megan Winning, who was with us on the trip.
What it gets back to is the experiencer. This is a subjective experience. It just is. And I'm sorry, you know, I have nothing but great respect for J.B. Rhine and Louisa Rhine, but there is something about the phenomenon that resists being proven. It just does. The effect of any laboratory test exists, but the signal above the noise is so small.
Yeah.
And the notion that this phenomenon is going to submit itself to scrutiny and is going to get pinned down like a moth, you know, in a chemist's lab, I think is not the way. I think this is individual. People, one by one, have an experience or find an interest, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think that's why Forrest, for his part, was more unaffected than Scott and I, because I was like, messing with the stuffed animals. I was like throwing things around the room. I didn't think we'd go back up there. I was just trying to scare the next people. And Scott, he was kind of like not necessarily believing anything, but Forrest went in and he was very respectful and nothing happened to him. So look at that.
Yeah, it clearly felt like me being incredulous triggered it in a way or whatever. But that's the other thing, Testo. It wasn't just auditory for you. You also physically felt your hair move, right?
Yeah, I felt, again, I grew up going Catholic school too. So, lots of girls whispering, going, hey, do you want to switch fourth period? Do you want to do this? So to me, I've always associated whispering with hair being moved out of my ear. And that's what I felt. So even though I felt no air, right, no voice, no breath, and even though I technically, I guess, didn't hear a voice because it was in my own head and no one else heard it, it's almost like it was signaling that I should be listening for a whisper.
In your life prior to that, what had ever happened to you like that?
Nothing. I was a bad college kid. Sorry, Mom. I did lots of urban exploring in DC. I've been to the Exorcist stairs about 1,000 times.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nothing's ever happened. There's lots of actually tuberculosis, abandoned hospitals, a couple asylums in the outskirts around like Maryland. So all my friends with cars, we'd go there with no protective equipment. Guys, you can't go to Henryton anymore. They knocked it down. So if anyone is young and wants to urbex, too bad, they're gone. But I went to an abandoned tuberculosis that later became an insane asylum. And I felt I was making fun again. And I was like,
do that. That's when the devils come.
I was 19.
Okay. All right.
And I was like, we were on the treatment wing. Obviously, there's no lights. I have pictures too on Facebook that I can post. I was looking down this hallway where like all the windows are smashed, so you can still see lights. All the doors are off the hinges, classic creepy, scary movie kind of stuff. But it wasn't scary because nothing had happened. And we'd been there for 3 hours and we had to walk across a river to get there. So we were all freezing. And I was like, why is there one pink room? Like, who would be in the stupid pink room? Like, that must be the bad room or something equally teasing. And then all of a sudden, that door, I guess, had a door on its hinges still. The door slammed. It was the loudest noise that day. I felt a cold rush of air, and then I ran all the way down the dilapidated stairs. And I'm very, very lucky that I did not go through the floor.
Oh my God.
That's it. That's the only thing. But I probably went to 35 abandoned insane asylums, sanatoriums in Philadelphia, on the outskirts of DC and DC. So it's not like it happened every time.
Yeah, there's a hospital / insane asylum in Vancouver, British Columbia that shut down years and years ago that gets used pretty much every single day by film companies. So literally anything you've ever seen on the CW, part of it, especially like Supernatural, they have filmed up at Riverdale so many times. I mean, it's just like you can't get in there. Sometimes crews will run into each other. It's like, oh, wait, where are you guys? Oh, we're in the basement. Okay, we're on the 3rd floor. All right, great. But it's just, and people build sets on it because it's this enormous complex, but it is notoriously haunted. Every crew in Vancouver has a story. Certainly any electrician who has to go into the basement to tie into the electric tells stories. And I mean, you could write a book about Hollywood filming and the locations that they film at. In fact, when we were doing Lost Room in New Mexico, of all places, in Santa Fe, there was a hospital right off the plaza in Santa Fe. This is back in 2006, so it had not been turned into the Drury Suites, which now it's a hotel, which I would never stay at. But anyway, abandoned hospital, notoriously haunted. It's in books that I've read, and we're shooting there. There are crew guys who come up from the basement, and they're like, I ain't going back down there. What's going on? And pretty soon, everyone knew. It's like, oh, they're down there in the dark, tying into the electrical, and they can hear children laughing.
Ooh.
No, thank you.
We
Pass.
were shooting there all night.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Pass.
You're in for the long haul. You better just ease in and enjoy it.
Come down here, Georgia. We will all float down here.
Yeah, God.
So I actually have a Christmas experience. It happened to me when I was a kid. I've had a lot of experiences my entire life, and a friend of mine, Desdemona, actually create artwork inspired by.
Yes.
This is a UFO I saw while I was at work one day, and probably the creepier thing is the Forrest will love this. I saw this while I was walking to work one day. I still don't know what it is. It's very weird-looking reptilian kind of creature. But the earliest experience that I ever had, I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and it was Christmas Eve. I had gone to bed at like 9 o'clock that night, and I woke up at about 10:30, and I had to go to the bathroom. So got out of bed. The way to the bathroom, I would pass by the landing for our apartment. You would go down, and it turned to the right, and I could see that our door was partially open. It was actually closing real slowly. I knew that our downstairs neighbor would close it from time to time because it didn't close that well. It didn't stay closed very well. So I figured that's what it was. It was just closing ever so slowly. So I went to the bathroom and got back in bed. And about 10 minutes after I got in bed, I saw this little figure standing at my bedroom door. And honest to God, it looked like a lawn gnome. It was just standing in my doorway. It walked in front of my bed, and I passed out. I don't know what happened after that, but it was one of those weird experiences that, I don't know, I wasn't frightened, which in any experience that I've ever had, I've never been totally frightened of what I've seen. Yeah, the lizard-looking dude, I was kind of concerned, just because it's a lizard-looking dude, and he's standing there staring at me, and I don't know what he wants.
Something mysterious.
Yeah, and I don't know what he wants to do, but for whatever reason, I was not scared. I don't know why, but don't remember anything, just passed out.
You know, I want to give you a little validation on, not that I have to, but just I've heard a similar story. I had somebody on the campfire who once said that when he was a kid, he would regularly see what he would describe as a leprechaun. Now, again, you know, if somebody walks up to you in the street and says, "Oh, I saw a leprechaun," you might think, yeah, right. Well, the interesting thing about this guy, and I didn't discount him in any way, was he said years later, maybe 20, 30 years later, this happened in the late 60s, he said he was talking to his brother, and for the first time ever, he told his brother what he saw. And his brother said, "Oh, you used to see him too, huh?" So, I mean,
oh my God.
And the thing is that maybe it wasn't a leprechaun per se. It kind of reminds me, you talked about Mike Cleland earlier and the whole idea of screen memories and things, but maybe he saw something. Maybe he did see somebody who had a shillelagh. I don't know. But maybe he saw something that his brain interpreted, the closest thing that he could interpret to a leprechaun, or maybe whatever it was projecting that, knowing that it was a kind of popular archetype. Who knows? But I believe that guy saw something just like I believe you saw something.
Well, there are stories about people, and this I did not know of, but there are stories of people who have seen Santa Claus, and not just kids, and it's typically on Christmas Eve or pretty close to it. And that's a real head scratcher, because it's like, okay, Santa Claus, is a spirit that comes and gives us presents at Christmas, but we don't really expect to see it happen. And yet on that night, on Christmas Eve, there are people, again, often children, sometimes adults, who don't expect to see Santa Claus, and they see something that looks like what we think of as Santa Claus.
Tulpa, thought form, tulpa.
Yeah, and I've read a little bit about this too, just recently, and because I knew I was going to be seeing you guys tonight at this party. But I was just going to say, there's something about that, like the idea, I mean, aside from the tulpa and the thing that's been created, there's that. And there's also this component of, which I see more and more, I feel like, the more we do our show, and Jim, we're way behind you, and you too, Micah, but just like the more it seems like it shows you what you want to see. And that it doesn't necessarily match the intention of what you want to see, but visually and to a certain extent in an interactive standpoint. Yeah, because some of those stories, Rich, that you brought up about these, you read these, and Brent Swanser has a great post on Mysterious Universe about this.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. That one has like a dozen of them. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. We'll have a link to that. But like, by the way, he wasn't all that warm and loving. It was just kind of like, go back to bed, kid. It's like, what is happening?
All right, I'm going to put it to you like this. I got a really long night. You go back to bed. I'm going to eat these cookies and I'm going to vamoose, okay?
I got you. I got the reindeer. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like if people always go, well, you saw, it was your dad, but it's like, what dad is dressing up like Santa Claus in the middle of the
I would
night?
do that. I'm just going to say I would do that. But I think sometimes
so
it is
every
the dad.
single one that has ever seen it, it's been Scott Philbrook,
It's
okay?
been me.
We've
Yes.
cracked this one.
Around the world.
We figured it out.
I have a magic sleigh. I do that. Not just in my house, but everybody's house.
Now there are warrants out for your arrest.
That's how he got us all here in his house, magically from across the country.
And we're all his little elves.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Rob, you saw this, like, okay, I'm going to say elf because you said gnome. But like, okay, did it feel scary, sinister, happy? Was it smiling? Did it leave anything for you?
I felt kind of happy. That's the only thing I can kind of say. I felt kind of happy.
Good.
Don't know why. I don't know why, and I don't even want to ponder on it, Rich. We're not going to go further into that right now.
That's the thing that bugs me, because the people who see Santa Claus, nothing gets left behind. That's I don't know. Maybe I'm still 5 years old, but it's like, if you see Santa Claus, then I want something to be left behind. A present, a thing, like just a part of a cookie, just something that says, yes, it definitely was Santa Claus.
That's fair.
Why?
I mean, that would be helpful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Help us all kind of determine that it was indeed the Santa of the Claus, right? And not his wicked alter ego. What is it, a Krampus?
Right.
Krampus, yeah.
Krampus is more like a cryptid kind of, sort of, but not,
He comes to punish the children,
Hey, the food's pretty good here tonight, man.
Thank you, sir. I hired one of the best virtual caterers in the biz, but you know what? It doesn't hold a candle to Green Chef. Did you get your box from them yet?
No, I did. It was delicious.
Well, if you're looking to kick off the new year by eating more wholesome food, healthier foods, without compromising flavor or selection, you need to check out Green Chef. With Green Chef's wide variety of high-quality, clean ingredients, you can feel great about what you're eating and how it got to your table. Green Chef is the most sustainable meal kit, offsetting 100% of its direct carbon emissions and plastic packaging in every single box. I love that.
Yeah, Green Chef is also a USDA certified organic company and includes recipes for paleo, keto, and plant-powered diets.
I know many of you are thinking, hey, what happened to the HelloFresh guys? Well, yes, we've endorsed HelloFresh for some time now. We love HelloFresh, and now it just so happens that Green Chef is owned by HelloFresh, which means there's even more choices in meals, better ways to maintain good eating habits, and you can get all of this delivered right to your home. This is a beautiful thing.
Indeed it is. The more the merrier, I say. Both are extremely delectable. In fact, talking about better eating habits, I got the chance with Green Chef to try this keto/paleo business. It's all the rage. So I ordered myself their keto box and had the Philly-style stuffed peppers with melted provolone on top and roasted butternut squash. Yum. And I actually didn't know a whole lot about keto meals before, and all I can say is if Green Chef is making it, that's a delicious diet I could stick with. And the ingredients come pre-measured, perfectly portioned, and mostly prepped, so my meal was ready in no time.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. Mine just got here tonight. I cannot wait to fix a meal from it tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's going to be good. So go to greenchef.com/astonishing80 and use the code astonishing80 to get $80 off, including free shipping.
If you're looking for a means to make cooking easy with options that work around your lifestyle and not the other way around, go to greenchef.com/astonishing80 and use the code astonishing80 to get $80 off, including free shipping. Like we said earlier tonight, a lot of folks are probably working on New Year's resolutions right now. Well, Fight Camp is the perfect gift for anyone who wants to take their fitness to the next level. It's great for someone you know who is motivated to feel better, to get in shape, has tried it all, but really struggles with finding a workout that keeps them excited, keeps them interested. I'm sure many of you are thinking, hey, that's me. I need to give this to myself.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Well, this will keep you excited. No doubt about it. Fight Camp brings the boxing gym to your home with a little tech twist to help you stay on track and in good form.
I've actually got an orange belt in American Kempo, and I've always wanted to learn boxing, but it's one of those things where I don't know where to start because it can be a little intimidating taking something like that up.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that. Well, Fight Camp eliminates the guesswork of ramping up by providing all the gear, everything you need. And on top of that, adding a brilliant new technology that tracks your punches. It's actually a really cool idea. And come on, who wouldn't like to get their frustrations out these days by safely punching the crap out of something and getting fit while doing it?
That's a valid point, man. Well, whether you're someone who has all the fitness experience in the world, looking for some variety, or an absolute beginner, Fight Camp will work for you. And on top of that, the whole family can enjoy it.
Yeah, the expertise comes from 6 trainers who created the tutorials and programming based on their experience training for real fights. These guys are former fighters. They know what they're doing. They mix in body weight exercises on top of boxing to round out all of your muscles. And there are several ways to learn, so you're comfortable and excited to continue no matter what your level is.
You don't have to run around town looking for any equipment or accessories. You just sign up, and Fight Camp delivers the best freestanding punching bag available, quality boxing gloves, quick hand wraps, and their unique punch tracking sensors that show you real-time progress and stats on any iOS device.
You can start immediately and pay over time because Fight Camp offers flexible financing for as low as 0% APR and $0 down. And right now, as a limited time holiday offer, get free shipping and a gift valued at up to $109 with every Fight Camp package.
Just go to joinfightcamp.com/legends. That's right. Get free shipping and a gift valued up to $109 with your purchase.
Bring an authentic boxing and kickboxing gym into your home with Fight Camp. To get your free gift, just go to joinfightcamp.com/legends.
Joinfightcamp.com/legends.
Hi, I'm Sarah Miller from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and when I'm not listening to Astonishing Legends, I'm thinking about listening to Astonishing Legends, and so should you. Now back to the show.
Let me toss this out. Tell me if any of you shared this tradition. When I was in grade school, we would write a letter to Santa Claus. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that year, it's the only letter I wrote. I did not write a letter to anyone else, didn't mail a letter. That was the one letter. And on Christmas Eve, I realized that I'd never mailed it, and I got really freaked out. I was pretty young. And I was the youngest of the 6 cousins that would gather at my house on Christmas Eve. So my older cousin Gail said, "Oh, don't worry. It's okay, Richie. You didn't mail your letter to Santa Claus." But I'm like, "No, it's a big problem because I'm not going to get presents." She's like, No, it's okay. What you do is just put the list that you wrote, the letter that you wrote, just put it in your stocking. And when he comes, he'll see it and he'll just take care of things.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Like that's even more miraculous than the most miraculous thing I'd ever heard. But it comforted me so much that my older cousin had the solution. And so without saying a word to anybody, late that night before going to bed, I jammed the letter all the way down into the stocking and went to sleep. And of course, the next morning, everything was there. I got everything on the list. So, man, you don't tell me there's no Santa Claus.
I thought that was going to be a plug for Miracles. I thought it was going to be
available on Amazon and Amazon Prime.
There you go.
I was going to say, Rich, I was going to say Rob earlier. You brought up Occam's razor.
Wow,
and it's something that
Scott's wasted. Scott, seriously.
I know what.
And then the stuff about the things.
What was in that eggnog?
He's had too much calamari. Too much calamari.
Way too much.
Wait, he's drunk on calamari?
Well, no, it was what I served him a few minutes ago when he got up and left for a minute. You guys know, yeah.
Yeah.
He's squid drunk.
He's squid drunk. Tess nailed it, yeah.
Was it absinthe, or was he drinking absinthe?
Yeah, it was like pure absinthe with a shot of just pure cinnamon dust and then like some more milk. It was a weird... He came up with it.
This is the only time of year people seriously drink Goldschlager.
Yeah, right? What's up with that, right? I hear Santa loves it, though, actually.
Yeah.
And
leave a little out for Santa.
Yeah.
Way to roast my college drink of choice. Ouch.
How did I know
Tess,
that?
you're drinking those old school drinks. Like I remember, Tess, a long time ago, you were like, "I like the slow gin fizz." I was like, "Wait, that was a joke drink in a Paul Giamatti
I wanted
movie.
boys to think I was cool. It did not work.
I just want to be like Don Draper with the cool cocktail cart. That to me is the ultimate in cool.
Well, Jim, just come right on over here, buddy, and we'll get you all set up.
I have my home office. I ought to just set up a little drink cart there, even if I never use it, just to have it as a prop.
Okay, first, yes, of course. Of course, no question. Second, Tess, did you ever go through the root beer schnapps phase?
Oh, here it is.
Oh, she's reaching.
1 second.
Okay. Yeah, unmute. You got to stop muting, Tess. No more muting.
Richard, you really are psychic.
Okay, here's a tiny root beer that I was drinking at the beginning of this call. and
Synchronicity.
It was mixed with rum chata shots.
Oh,
wait,
my
that's
God.
in a
It's in like
Dairy
a
creamer
creamer
cup.
thing.
What's
Yeah, it's a
happening?
It's like a Keurig.
Guys, what is going on? How old are you again?
DC is
26. My dad sent me like a mug of rum chata, and it was just like little rum chata shots like this.
Okay, well, look, all right. You know what? God bless you. You're doing fine.
No, we're trying. It's a pandemic. Look, I'm trying to get better drinks again for Christmas. Mom and Dad, if you're listening, I asked for a Margaritaville mixer, and I was not kidding.
Okay, I'm going to help you out here, okay? Yes, get some Margaritaville and whatever you asked for, that's fine. But you can also just, very simply, just some tequila, some triple sec or Cointreau, some lime juice, delicious margarita. That's 3 ingredients. That's all you need.
That's
Mix
right.
them in whatever degree you want. And if you want to sweeten it up a little, nowadays you can go to any supermarket practically and just get some agave nectar, which is like a little syrup in the booze section. Add a little of that to sweeten it up and you're fine.
He's right. You know, I'm the bartender, and I'm telling you, that guy knows, hey, would you come over here and make me a margarita right now?
Micah, you and I are going to go out and party. Hey,
Dude,
New Year.
yeah.
All right, man?
We can't actually do that. There's the thing, but we could do it at Scott's place. Is that cool?
Scott,
Yeah,
Scott's
that's totally
place
fine.
is a magical place where we can always gather and sit by the fire
Yep.
and drink and share our
Well,
stories.
we
That
sit
is
by
the
Jim's
magical
fire at
spot.
Scott's place.
There it is.
but yeah.
Jim, I want to know how you do that. Everything technical I learned from you.
There you go. It's magic. It's Christmas magic.
Welcome to
Hey.
Astonishing Legends, the mixed drink episode.
Right? Next Christmas
God, it's a
cocktail
Christmas episode. What do you
episode.
expect?
It's all my trash alcohol takes. But you know what? Trash alcohol is fun. Margaritas are fun if they're nice, but they're more fun if they come in a machine with a parrot on it.
Yeah, you got a point, Tess. You got a point right there. You do.
You know
You
what?
know,
I
I mean-
cannot argue with that.
I guess I'm just in the mood for these colder weather drinks, like a hot toddy or like a,
Ooh.
I love a good hot toddy.
yeah.
Well, what's
you
in
know.
a hot toddy? How do you make that?
So I guess a traditional way you would make it, or you could do it with anything, but I mean, like you would take a bourbon. I would take a bourbon, right? And what else goes in a hot toddy? Oh gosh, like
Honey.
and hot water, right? And
Yeah,
so it's
little
a warm
honey,
drink, and the whole idea is that
Yeah.
Lemon.
as a singer, when I would go play a gig in the cold weather and everything, if you're having a little throat trouble, they'd be like, "Oh, hot toddy and everything," and that'll kind of help clear everything out with your throat and everything. And it did work. A warm cocktail, yeah, right.
But if you drank too
Well,
many
that's
of them, you
nice.
forgot the lyrics.
Then you forget the lyrics, yeah. And if the
Yeah.
drummer drinks too much, well, you know exactly
You
what
can't
happens,
keep the
right?
beat,
Yeah.
Well, the drummer was a rummer. Hey,
Mm.
Micah, are we gonna get to hear a song?
Well, I don't know. It just so happens. Look right here behind me.
Oh, I would love to hear a song, Micah.
Gosh,
If
I
you
do
can take a
have-
break from the bar.
Well, I guess I could. I mean, I think the weird people over there that by the other fire, they've kind of calmed down. So now,
Yeah, this is just for us, not for the piano people. Can do their own thing. They're doing the chestnuts roasting on the open fire.
oh yes. Well, that's a good one, but I don't know if it's BMI, ASCAP. We got to be very careful with that stuff. So, I thought I would get medieval on everybody tonight because if you really want to be able to make sure that you have a safe podcast, safe song to play, just go medieval, and then it's public domain, right? So that's what we're gonna do tonight. Now, an old favorite of mine. There's a process or an order of operations, you might say. And that requires putting on the headphones so I can make sure I can control all the audio elements here.
Oh, that's really weird because we're just sitting here by a fireplace. But hey, you know what, man? You do your thing.
It's just me.
Micah's going to get medieval.
You brought this
on
whole
your ass.
rig.
No.
It's really crazy. I brought this whole rig. You're going to see all this stuff. We're going to try this. You may hear echo now.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Do you bring that everywhere you go, Micah?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Not everywhere I go. Where's one for? Oh.
Don't do that. Copyright strike. Copyright strike.
Gonna do, yeah. Okay. So anyway, so we put that on, and then we're going to try this, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be quite the experiment. And after slinging drinks all night, it's going to be all the more interesting. So now over here to my right, your left, listeners or viewers on the other side of the room, we've got another microphone set up, which is a condenser microphone, which will be perfect for capturing the sound of this wonderful Martin D28 LSV. All right.
That thing looks kind of worn, Micah.
It's well worn, my friend. I have traveled all throughout the Southeast and other places too, loving this guitar, i.e. beating the hell out of it. So now we have to open it. This is where things get interesting because we got to try and make sure that we can pick everything up. We're going to go live with the microphone now. West of the Rockies, call my house. East of the Rockies, you might also try calling from a phone. Wildcard line, there's a wonderful little bar in a place called Turlock, and they serve apple pie that will, like cherry pie in Twin Peaks, literally kill you. And now, from somewhere out there, this is Fart Smell. Or the Van Halen chord. But anyway, okay, so we're going to go medieval, and we're going to try a little green sleeves, or What Child Is This, right? Yeah. But this is going to be a stylized jazz rendition. Okay, I'm not even going to sing it. I'm just going to play it. So I'm going to shut up and pick. There's a note in there somewhere.
was awesome.
Very nice.
Almost. I mean, I tried to put that arrangement together to like this morning. Oh wow, is there an echo in here?
Yeah, I love it though.
There it is. Yeah.
That was so great.
But a little babe, I'm gonna leave you in there, right?
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice.
I thought you were going to break into classical gas any minute.
baby, I'm gonna leave you. Yes. Yeah.
That was awesome.
So
That was great.
good.
That was great.
Forrest,
Thank you
thank
so
you for
much.
giving me that pick back. I was afraid you were going to keep that, man, but it's a very important pick. So,
Well, it fell in the nog, so just keep that.
fell in the nog.
Yeah. Just-
Forrest, oh, thank God you're back. Where did you go? Were you outside?
I've been
whole
taking a
time,
nap.
We
Yeah.
forgot to let him back in, guys.
That's
Got
what
us a guest room.
The booze and the cold. You can't mix those. You gotta
No.
be careful.
It was
Stalling
like
out.
the
thank God.
Saint Bernard in the Looney Tunes where he had the little barrel and he said made himself a drink.
That dog is the best. That's it. That's I thought about Looney Tunes earlier because you said Rich was wearing a lampshade, and I didn't want to bring it up, but like one of my favorite jokes ever is when Bugs Bunny is hiding and he puts the lampshade on, and somebody comes up trying to find him and pulls the cord, and he just goes click. I mean, come on, these are great jokes.
Right?
Great stuff.
Fantastic.
Anybody want to hear a good Christmas message from a ghost?
Yeah, sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
This will be parental discretion advised. There may be not to give it away because Scott hates that, but it's, I'll let you decide what's being said, but I kind of think at least one word is not very nice, but it kind of sums up a Christmas message from the other side, or just a message in general. And now this was taken at the Talbot Inn in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Wait. Are you going to play something I haven't heard yet? An EVP I haven't heard?
No, I've played you everything. You just go, I think that's CG. I think that, yeah.
No, I don't.
It's CGI.
Oh, okay. All right.
CG.
No. Unless it's happened to him. It's like, Forrest, a broom fell over the kitchen. A broom just, I didn't touch it at all. It just fell over. It's like,
Yeah, I know what to expect now
Forrest.
when you guys come up here and do the Brown Mountain thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know exactly what to expect.
I know.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's, I think all of us should go do the Brown Mountain Lights. I think we should
Yeah,
just
why don't
do
we all
that.
just do that? Yeah,
That
right?
might be a
And
fun,
if they
that
don't
might be
show
a
up,
fun
it's
get-together.
not a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're invited. You're all invited. That's the important thing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But no, I completely agree. I want to do it.
Well, I'll go to Hellier Cave and just camp there.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Is there room service?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we bring it with us, but I mean, it's there. Yeah. Goblins, ancient goblins. Yeah.
Well, here we go. Well, this is from the Old Talbot Tavern. It's also known as the Old Stone Tavern. I'm just going to reading off the wiki entry here, but it's a historic place built in 1779 in Bardstown, Kentucky. Also the home of bourbon, which is why I like it a lot. It's actually a settlement before Salem. So it's the oldest Western stagecoach stop and still in operation. And it's had some very notable guests, of course. Daniel Boone, George Rogers Clark, famous general, Andrew Jackson, William Henry Harrison, Abraham Lincoln stayed there, as well as Stephen Foster. I'm sure Micah will know who that is, a famous musical writer. And, of course, James Audubon and Jesse James. And apparently the lore is Jesse got drunk one night and shut up his room thinking there were butterflies flying around. It was probably a lot of good bourbon, though. So
Those were stars, Jesse. You were seeing stars.
It could have been stars. It could have just been I'm drunk and I have a gun.
Yeah, you don't need an excuse if you're drunk and you got a gun.
You don't need an excuse. So it's had a long and storied past, and we were staying in one of the rooms that is not too far from the Jesse James room, which you can go visit during the day, but no one can stay in there. There was a fire in that room, and the walls are now protected with plexiglass, but you can still see the bullet holes. So I was there on my Midwest Adventure 2, second being the number 2, with ghost hunters and good friends Jill and Roger Pingleton. And this was Jill's room, and we decided to do a little ghost hunting there. So I got out the infamous DR60, the Panasonic RR DR60 digital recorder, of which that's the foundation of Scott's newly found belief system. And I have to say, there's a lot more that I've gotten with this. I've kind of hinted at that. in other episodes, but we really need to analyze it before I would air it on the show, because it's going to cause some stir, some consternation, some belief, some disbelief. People are going to freak out, I think. So this is, though, one of the best EVP. I think it's probably the best, clearest EVP I've ever gotten with this thing.
My God, you're gonna seriously though? You're gonna play an EVP right now?
Unless you don't think it's Christmassy.
It's totally Christmassy. This is like this perfect Christmas thing to do by the fireplace.
Well, in lieu of that, folks. Well, no, Rich wanted me to tell the Los Feliz murder house story, which he was somehow very, very excited about. But it's a really horrific family murder story. I don't know. I just didn't.
Oh, we live right nearby it, but I want to hear.
Blood is red. That's a Christmas color.
That's right.
No, I'll just say about about that story. After the family, of course, was gone after that horrific night for maybe decades. This happened December 6th. This is the house in Los Feliz, California, not too far from me. Presents were still wrapped and left on the table, which, according to the lore of the house, sat there for years and years and years, and nobody ever opened them. And that's my Christmas wish. Like, I want to know what's in those packages.
I want to go open the Christmas gifts belonging to the dead people.
I just want to see what Christmas gifts were like.
So here's the thing about that house, though. It's not far from you.
Right.
There was a murder in it, and then nothing happened. And also, nobody went in there, and the presents were wrapped for years. What's the story with that place?
I'm not going to get into it now, but that was 1959. And so, of course, the house was shuttered. Eventually, it was purchased, but the owners, this older couple who purchased, the middle-aged couple at the time, purchased it, generally just used it as storage. They gave the house to their son. He also just used it as storage. Never did anything with it. People were complaining. Of course, it's haunted. It was rumored to be haunted before the Perelson family had moved in. That's Harold Perelson, Dr. Harold Perelson. So it was rumored to be haunted before that, and certainly much long after that. But we're not talking about that tonight. I'm going to play you this EVP, though. This was captured, again, this was on my second Midwest ghost hunting tour, and this was taken in Jill's room. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the windscreen here. I'm going to play this. And folks who don't know, I could have laid the audio off to a Pro Tools recording digitally, but it only comes out of the earplug, the 2.5 millimeter.
We had a special cable built for that.
Yeah.
By an engineer.
So so this is not still, that. Yeah, I haven't had time, but really, I'm just going to turn it up, and I'm going to just play the audio into the microphone, and I'm going to play the whole message first, and then I'm going to go back, play it again, and just highlight and repeat the part where I think there's a message. So listen carefully.
I'll take a look here. Is Mr. Jesse James here, or any of his cohorts, or any other spirit here in the room with us? Lost to communicate. Try and speak clearly and directly, softly into this blinking red light here.
Okay, I'll play the part where I think there's a message. So what happens is, like I said, I start at the recording. I wait for, there's like a few seconds pause where I'm kind of thinking about what to ask. Who you hear back there is Roger Pingleton. So he also, that's just his voice. And then maybe Jill has spoken up later on, but they're really the only louder voices you hear. So here it is again.
So we'll hear it like right after you say, like, look at the red light.
Listen as soon as the playback starts.
Okay.
Right there, the part you play. I heard the word house. Is
yeah, my house.
Hold on.
I'll take a look.
Okay, so that's it played.
Yeah.
I know it's really hard. I know it's really hard for this to come over the mic and for you to hear it clearly.
No, we got to hook that cable up and capture it and all that.
So you
still,
Forrest, you've heard it a few times. What are you hearing?
Like I said, this is, of course, it's one of the more quiet EVPs, but unlike the Sally House one, what's pretty clear to me, and again, Scott will have to bleep this, but it's get the out, leave me alone.
Oh.
And this is before I ask a question. So here, once again, now.
Okay. Oh, yeah. By the way, okay, here, wait, before you play it, Forrest, I just want to say this, and all due respect to Micah and Jim and Rob,
and me,
if you've already experienced this, but one of the things that we found is that the answer comes before the question a lot with EVP.
Interesting.
Okay, so now that you've heard me say, I'm going to keep playing it over and over again. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Yeah. Wait. Okay, do it again for us. Keep playing it.
I'll take a look here.
Yeah. Get the out and leave me alone. Slowly at that cadence.
Well, I'm very glad it's not me being bleeped.
I'm going to be bleeped a lot on this one, and so is that spirit. But I'm not calling it out because I've had enough problems with spirits.
No, that was, and again, there's a little bit of distortion on the F-bomb, I believe, but I didn't want to sway anybody's. But yeah, I know it's hard to hear, but it's pretty clear to me when you're listening to it right there, and I think that's probably the best one that this has gotten, and certainly it got a lot more, but because you may not have all heard the ones from the show, I'll play one from Waverly here.
Anyone here that would like to speak with us at Waverly Hall, Waverly Hills?
This is why that recorder lives at Forrest's house and not mine. I'm just going to tell you for nothing.
Yeah, that sounds like your buddy.
The tone is similar, but I believe the voices and the messages are different. What's interesting about the Talbot Inn, the old Talbot Tavern, is that was my second stay there. The year prior to that, we'd stayed there, and I'd been there for the first time. And that was, I had a few little blips of sound and some interesting things. But when I went, I did a test. The room that I was staying in, which is part of the new annex or the new addition, which was also an old bank building, very old, not quite as old as the main part of the building, but still very old. And it had a Mosler safe, a walk-in safe as the closet. They converted. One of the criticisms is that, well, you're just picking up radio waves and cell phone communication and ham radio and AM, FM, DJs just talking. It's like, okay, well, let's put it in the bank vault, which is concrete and steel. There's two sets of doors, which are probably a 1/4 inch thick, solid steels, inner doors and then an outer door. And that's the one that has the combination on it. So I placed it in there, asked another question, came back, and it really, that was the one where it sounded like a conversation. And I did it several times, and I thought, okay, I don't think it's not quite a Faraday cage, but I'm not getting any cell reception in there. It's got to be something either inside the recorder or it's just picking up stuff that's spiritually environmental. So, but that was really the first time I thought oh my gosh, this thing it's a radio for talking to the other side.
Exactly, as Belloc would say.
Yeah.
It is a radio for talking to God.
And then a fly crawls into his mouth. So
that's the ultimate commitment as an actor, by the way.
Yeah, really. So anyway, that was something I haven't played, and I thought I'd share. That's cool. It's the like I said, when you listen to it up close, it's it's pretty clear to me, and one of the clearest things I've gotten with this recorder. And there's something about this particular unit that is it's special. I don't know what the deal is. Scott was too chicken to look its backstory because it's I was cursed and now I put it on eBay and Scott purchased it. It's well, what's who'd you get this from?
And I'm not afraid of its backstory. Swami. I'm afraid of it.
Well,
I
just
don't
no.
want it.
I want to know. Well, no, I want to know. I want to know why the guy sold it. That's not unusual for, as we all know.
They sold it because it was a $20 recorder that's now worth $1,600.
No, but they must have known the worth on that because you didn't pay that.
Right,
amount.
they know the value, but what I'm saying is they're selling it for. They can be selling it for paranormal value,
Sure.
but also for cash.
Well, no,
There's some people that don't care. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I believe in ghosts. I don't care about that. We can get $2,000 for this thing. You know,
I just want to know is there a story there? Because I have to assume that it acted up the same way with the people who owned it previously.
well, that's what those recorders do, the DR60s.
Yeah, but not to this extent. I mean, this is, like I said, you've seen ghost shows with it. Jim was with us at the
I was there,
Paranormal Weekend. And so the Haunted Housewives, Kathy and
Teresa,
the Haunted Housewives.
Teresa, that's where we got exposed to the DR60, Jim. It's so funny. I forgot about that. You were there with us, and then I went back like the week after that and got on eBay, and we bought the one that Forrest has in his hand.
That's how that happened.
And it was like $1,300 for this $20 recorder from the 90s. So
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's got to be a story there. I can't, even if you were like, well, I don't believe in ghosts. I just tell it to pick up milk after going to the store. And by the way, go to the post office on the way home. It's like, and you're getting that. That's more than a malfunction. Although if you didn't believe in ghosts, I imagine you just think like, well, this thing's really crappy. I mean, I'll just hang on to it for 25 years. So there's something with it, and I just want to know the backstory. But like I said, we'll pursue this more. But it's kind of hard from an audiologist standpoint because there's only so much they can pull out of there. But me just listening to the clips over and over again, especially like with Talbot, like I put it together as context and a story. From the one recording we haven't aired yet, it's like I asked a question. It's like, well, what's your story here? Can you tell me about your life or what happened before you passed away? And I felt I was getting sentence fragments of somebody telling me their story. And so, it's the most remarkable thing, but it's you don't get that with every DR60. Certainly you see these a lot on Kathy and Teresa, what they got was they asked the kind old fellow who used to volunteer there at the theater. It's like he always had a coffee. And
what was his name?
I can't remember his name right now, but he always had a hot, fresh coffee with him. That was his thing. And
Mel or something.
Mel,
like
that's
that.
it, Mel.
Is it Mel?
It is Mel. Yeah, and so they would people will still smell.
He was a patron of the theater.
Yeah, he was an older retired guy. He used to do the ghost tours there around the theater, and
right. So he gave a lot of money, helped the kids out in the theater.
He had a favorite.
If you go and sit in the seats where he sat, you smell his coffee and stuff like that.
Sometimes, that happened. So they just Kathy and Teresa just said, like, Mel, do you what kind of roast did you like on your coffee? Did you like a light roast or a dark roast? And that was one of the first live EVPs I think Scott and I ever heard was dark roast.
Yeah,
and that's we
played it in a show.
Yeah, and that's kind of
and
what
you were there.
It sounds.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I heard everybody's going to a second location, and one thing I learned a long time ago is to never go to the second location. So I think I'm gonna bug out here. I just want to say how much fun I've had hanging out with everybody. It's been so awesome.
This has been great, man. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Forrest. This has been my favorite Christmas tradition, and this year has been the best one ever.
Oh, it's year one.
A new tradition.
It's time for everything, right?
That's because I'm never going to come here ever again.
But I'll see you on New Year's, friend.
Scott and Forrest, it's been great. Thanks for inviting me. I've absolutely loved it.
Jim, thank you so much. Micah as well. You're certainly two figures that we really look up to. Rich just comes with a package. I mean, Rich is friends of old school friends of mine, and so we were destined to bump into each other. It just happens to be that he's a talented screenwriter, and that's why he's here. And he has some great ideas. But you two, yes, we certainly, as far as this medium goes, owe a lot to you too, and certainly you're both very inspirational to us. So thank you so much for.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, thank you so much for
absolutely. You guys are fantastic.
Agreeing to join us.
Hey, and also, Rob, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you coming out of retirement for that on the paranormal.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Yeah, thank you all. Yeah, it feels weird to be here, but I've also had a great time, so thank you.
And Tess, Tess was our card up our sleeve because I don't know how to put it. It's like she does a blog a day for October when we could take a whole month and do one episode, and we thought, God, Tess is going to have some great stories. If we get in a jam, she's there to save us, as she always is. And again, thank you. We've been very blessed, I would say, at a very serious note here, if you want to talk about mushy Christmas wishes is that I couldn't have wished more for better acquaintances and friends and connections and a network to have developed out of this. And it's really the people, going back to what Tess said, it's really, we can study all this stuff and we can think of the questions, follow the answers, see what we can come up with. And it's all very fascinating to me. And that's why I'm in it and will still be. But these are also stories that don't really matter unless there's a human element involved, because that's our perspective. That's why we're interested. How does it affect the rest of us? And so that's the same with this pursuit. Really, the most important thing is each other and the connections we make and the friendships we make, and they're going to last for a lifetime. And that's what I value most out of this endeavor. It's just the people I've met and the lasting friendships that will always be there. So thank you so much again for making this a really special year-end show for us. Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Well, that's going to wrap up 2020 for Astonishing Legends. A very special thanks to Micah, Jim, Rich, Rob, and Tess, of course. We'll have links to all of their various endeavors in the show notes and on the episode page for this show. We'd also like to credit YouTuber Andy Negative, that's ANNDY, who provided the public domain holiday music background for tonight's show. We're wishing everyone the safest of holidays this season, and we will see you on January 9th, 2021, with a new show. Thank you so much for your ongoing support.
Please remember to support our sponsors. They help keep the show free and the lights on in Blanket Fortiana.
Special thanks to John Boland.
What's your name?
My name is spelled Sarah.
Pronounced like Grant, but with a V.
And
Galaxy-wide in perpetuity.
Our show is edited by Sarah Voorhees Wendell and co-produced by Tess Pfeifle, who is also our head of research.
Our theme, which is available as a ringtone, was composed by Judson Crane, and our sound design and additional composing is by Ryan McCullough.
Special thanks to the Astonishing Research Corps.
But most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Visit our store at astonishinglegends.com or interact with us and other listeners on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
You can also support the show at patreon.com/astonishinglegends, where patrons have access to additional bonus content. No part of this show may be reproduced anywhere without permission. Copyright Astonishing Legends Productions.
Good night.